4:30. We scheduled this one for 4 p.m. because we thought we were going to have an executive session. Chris is out of town, so that got canceled, but the time didn't get changed. So we're just waiting on an extra person to get here, and we'll get started. So just wanted to let y'all know that's why we're running a few minutes behind. All right, y'all. Welcome to the February 19th City Council work session. We're going to go ahead and get started now that we've got a quorum. First item on the agenda is a discussion of the Anatee Jeans Lease and Nature Trail. Susan Godwin, President of the Board of Hope Community, is going to be here to speak. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks so much for giving us opportunity. And a couple of things we'd like to ask you to take a look at and discuss. The first one is that in April of last year, you created an amendment to the ground lease that we have for the use for subleasing to the Makers Market, which I think has been a pretty big success, and they'd love to do it again this year. I believe we're coming up on the need for a renewal for this year. So hopefully that's fairly straightforward. That's under resolution number 5413-25. Yep. That was the amendment, was April 14th of 2025. So that is one item.
Are you looking just for another year?
Yes.
Just one more?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's the sublease to the Makers Mark.
Yes.
Next item.
The next item has to do with our lease agreement, in particular under 5, Clause 5C, under covenants, where the tenant shall not assign, sublease, underlet, part with the possession of, or transfer the premises. And do you have a copy of that, or?
I do.
I just have.
Oh, great.
Yes, I have it written
Okay.
right here.
Thank you. The main concern is we certainly understand about leasing or subleasing, that would require written permission from the council. But there's some language that we feel prohibits us from some of the intent of being able to have a community center there and letting the community use it, or third parties. And that language is, I think it's on line 3, where it says, this lease agreement obtains, I'm sorry, let me back up a second. It's regarding third parties, any arrangement or transaction whereby any person, entity, or vendor who is not a party to this lease agreement obtains the use, possession, occupation, or enjoyment of the premises or any part thereof. And, you know, we certainly understand the idea of possession, but as far as use or occupation for enjoyment of the premises, what we'd like to do is to be able to have, allow community groups within the neighborhood and the community for one-time events or uses. It's not long-term, it's not leasing, such as, churches coming together to have a service on the property, or family reunions, or a barbecue or something like that, where it really invites the community, and we're trying to restore that property as for community use, community center. And so we sent some suggested language, although I'm sure the city attorney would probably want to look at that and have his or her own language, but we're hoping that we can have some minor changes that would then allow us to, under the discretion of Hope Community, using our property use forms and within the guidelines of the city, be able to allow groups or organizations to use the property.
So I would say, Marcus, I'm sure you may have something to weigh in on this, but I would say that the intent would not be for y'all to have to come here every single time you want to have an event.
Exactly.
And ask for city council
Right.
Permission. But I do think we probably needed some language in there to also protect the city from it just being, hey, we're leasing this property for $1 a year, and now, maybe the vision changed, and now you're just subletting it to somebody who's subletting it to other events. So I don't know what kind of language we would want to contemplate to.
It was a highly vetted lease agreement because of the reversion clause in the deed
somebody from coming over there and using, having a church event at the place. It prevents them from subleasing to a church and start raising funds by just wholesale leasing out to somebody else on a daily basis or a weekly basis, or whatever. And that's part and parcel of what we did with the Maker Farms. It's just making sure that you gotta come back here to do that, and it doesn't conflict with the uses of the actual property itself. You also gotta look at from a standpoint that corner is now gonna be, there's gonna be different improvements around there, trails and stuff with, I can't remember the park that they talked about right in that corner, but
Oh, this,
also some additional uses that are gonna come in there that may conflict with whatever, so you just don't have control over it. And my main concern is that the reversionary issues that we've got.
With the Baldwin
is
County
that
Board of
restricted
Education.
Where we know exactly what they're using it for, and that's it, but I didn't hear anything that she was mentioning that would otherwise trigger a need necessarily to come back. The only thing that wouldn't necessarily is if they leased it out.
Okay.
well, and that's great. We really wanted clarification because some of the language, we just wanted to make sure we weren't overstepping. But I think, these are like maybe one-day events, and it's not a lease or sublease or anything like that.
There's no money changing hands, and it's a community center.
Well, would there be people paying a fee to utilize
No, we're
it?
not planning on taking money for the local community using it.
Okay, well then,
Is
That
that
sounds-
right? I mean, John, do you want to speak into that?
Well, I mean, as far as like a cleanup, I mean, there would be
Cleaning fee or
some
something?
requirement for maintenance that we're doing. I would say a nominal fee. We're not looking to make a bunch of money, but we don't want to incur cost with
right,
these groups coming
for
in.
people using
So
it.
kind of as our use form that we're talking about, if they're going to use the building, we would probably have a fee that would be applied to the maintenance or cleanup that we,
The city would have to look at that and approve it before.
Well-
anything happens.
But that would be like a one-time blanket approval of this is the form you're gonna use.
Because the form that we currently have, we downloaded initially, and it was the one that you guys used for the parks and recreations type form with liability and all of that on it.
And that,
And so we were kind of going to basically replicate that, the form that you guys have online. And I think it's like for liability, insurance, some of the stuff, we just want to make sure that we're not constantly having to pay out liability. So if we could have them to assist us with that, that would be the biggest part of it.
okay, I mean, it sounds like that would be pretty easy, but it probably do need to run it by city attorney for,
Yeah, and make sure that it's not being used as just a subterfuge to try to get around, a lease
Yeah.
agreement or exclusivity, because it's a community center, it's not
Yeah.
it's not an event center primarily. We contemplated the school board when we got the property, so we'd have to look at any proposals that they brought forward that they want to look at.
but I think along those lines, if you can have even if it's the one off the city website, just run it by the city attorney and we can vet it and just say, yes, this is usable if you're gonna have this outlined to groups, because I understand the idea that you're not wanting to come back to the council every time somebody wants to have a family reunion. or a
Right,
church
exactly.
service or-
Yeah.
And I don't think that was our intent either. But avoiding being sublet to somebody that's just gonna operate it as a event space, a business, that was probably what we were trying to prevent, so.
Yes. We understand.
and-
So
and-
next step would be just giving the property use form for review?
I think so, to the city
Okay.
attorney.
And a proposal about what kind of uses it's gonna be, and then review that,
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Anything
much.
else while
Thank you,
y'all are
guys.
here? Everything going well?
Going well.
You want to tell them about your future trash pickup real quick while you're here? I was going to mention it tonight anyway.
Oh, I think that was today, the Osprey Initiative final.
No, you're having let's see,
Oh, another one?
Saturday, February the 28th, you guys are having.
Oh, on
Every-
Young Street.
Young Street.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're going to meet at the Rotary Youth Club to pick up trash, and this is a real fun event for families with your kids, and the kids thoroughly enjoy it, grandkids in my case.
Yes.
We'll be there.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank
you
y'all.
mentioning that.
Sure.
Thank you for all your support. We really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
We appreciate
Appreciate
you
y'all.
guys.
Great stuff.
All right, next item up on the agenda is should say Baldwin Alliance at this point, the BCEDA capital site work improvements on the grounds of the future Hatch campus K1 Hatch project. Richard Johnson.
Yes, council, these next three projects I'm excited to show them to you and let the different stakeholders talk about them because I do think they're all contributing to that quality of life and community spirit and things of that nature. I'll refer to you that I placed a handout that looks like this. It's got pretty pictures on it. And really my part in this, and I'll let Mr. Lee Lawson or the team from Watermark Thompson kind of get into what the vision is and what they're trying to accomplish. But since we have the fact that Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance wants to make a capital investment on a city-owned property, even though it's under lease with them or will be under lease with them, it does require the consent of council to make these improvements. So as you know, in the redevelopment of the K1 Center to become Hatch, which is a organizational operation of the Economic Development Alliance here in Baldwin County, is they are pursuing an opportunity to enhance the function of the incubator there that will be in the historic school building on Church Street by introducing a really developed, very nice courtyard that would sit in the former footprint of where the gymnasium auditorium existed. And this is a conceptual drawing of what it could be. I know that you know, with your consent, then they will engage their architects and engineers to do a hard design and start working toward cost estimates and things like that. But I won't speak for Mr. Lawson, but I think one of their goals is that they would love to see this project kind of correlate close to or with the opening of Hatch there at the historic school building on Church Street, which right now the city's project is probably targeted to wrap up in the very, very early fall, September. They are, Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance has doing a lot of fixtures and furniture and equipment that they will be putting in to make that space ready for them. So I think we're probably targeting sometime in late fall of this year, which is exciting. So I'll hush up unless you have any questions about just the fact is we're having a request to do a major capital improvement on city-owned property, and I do want to reaffirm that this sits within their lease space already, because remember when we did the lease, it included the whole building. Well, there was part of the building here in this footprint that now is available, and even today is just a graded out area. If you hadn't been back there, it makes that building so much nicer. It's so open back there. It really isn't. Even though it's a large space, I think it can be a very intimate space for different groups and gatherings and activities and things like that. So I think this is exciting, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lee Lawson and let him put his 2 cents in, and we can have he can call on any of the design team to share anything that they may see.
Thanks, Richard. Council members, thank you for your time this evening. First of all, I'd like to just highlight the work the team at the city has done. Richard and his entire team have been great partners in seeing this project through on the city side of construction. As you'll remember, Hatch, which is our Technology Entrepreneurial Development Initiative within our foundation, was the trigger for the federal EDA grant and state monies that has helped this project come to fruition. And we're finally seeing a lot of progress there on the site, in large part due to Richard and his team who've been managing that in a great manner and way. The team at Thompson Watermark, who's here with me, if there are any questions of them, again, have been great partners and great guiders of this project. And we couldn't be more excited about what's on the horizon for the finish of this building. In the original plans, the courtyard, which we're here to talk about this evening, really the plans only called for that to be sodded and for us to have one big sod yard in the background of the center. What we're wanting to propose tonight to you, and you're seeing a conceptual rendering, and we've worked with the team at Thompson Watermark alongside both Richard, the mayor, and others have seen this conceptual drawing. It really is a conceptual plan that we hope to then have hard design on, built for really a phased approach. Again, that's our intent, is to cover the design cost with our funds at our organization. So with your consent tonight, we would move forward in engaging Thompson Watermark in design. We would cover the cost of the design for all phases of the courtyard, and then move into hard design, and then hopefully a bid to then have the construction done of at least phase one of the courtyard right now is our intent, and to work alongside you as partners to hopefully deliver that. Hopefully the images which you see, I don't know, Richard, you said you may be
Looks
able to have
really
an
good.
image up on the screen potentially. Nope, okay.
If you want to pass this copy around.
I mean, it's up to y'all. There's no private authorship or ownership in it. Again, we hope to have a digital picture for everybody to see. But again, you'll see where the former gymnasium sit. And as a former basketball player, it hurt my heart to not have a gym on site. But again, the conceptual design there would be not only a back porch to the facility, but then hardscape throughout that can be utilized not only by the entrepreneurs that are there on a daily basis, but also for any special events that would be there as well to incorporate the courtyard. And really, as the previous design sat, the usability of that from a sodded perspective, we all know the kind of weather we have in our region. And so again, we feel like this is a much better plan for the facility, especially given the level of the facility in its final design and delivery. This truly is going to be a technology showplace, not only for this community, but for our region, and we think it's going to be one of the most unique technology entrepreneurial development spaces in the country. For what we're delivering, what we're bringing to there for the build-out and the tenant fit-out for Hatch and its entrepreneurs. And so there's a lot of excitement around the project. We can't wait to unveil it later this year alongside you, our partners. But this, we think, will further enhance the facility, the grounds, and just add to the historic renovation and resurgence of this property. I mean, that's been the goal from day one, and we think that this courtyard design will only further enhance the property. And so that's why we wanted to come to you tonight, answer any questions you may have. Of course, we have the technical team here who's done a great job of laying out a conceptual design for you here, and we hope to deliver it as close to the conceptual renderings as you see in front of you. Real quick, as you continue to study the picture, I'd love to just give you a quick update. So not only are we looking to have this building continue to harness what we're doing at Hatch, but we've activated a tech innovation ecosystem within this community with Hatch without a permanent home. Almost in spite of not having a permanent home, which was always the goal here. But at our last event, Hatchtown, we had over 200 attendees, 50 tech AI builders showed up to meet challenges of business and industry here. And over 10 of our builders were signed up with those business, industry, and challenges. We hosted that at the University of South Alabama's campus. We also involved high school students from Baldwin Preparatory Academy, which was a unique feature this year. We've also launched the Women Entrepreneurial Network. We had 35 women entrepreneurs with a grant from Truist Bank that we jump-started that event with. And we've also been able to build a unique strategic university partnership with the University of South Alabama, which will have a presence within Hatch and within the K-1 Center, which we think is a critical piece to the puzzle, having a university research partner within the facility. And so that's just a quick snapshot of just some of the things we're working on at Hatch and some of the things that we're doing without this home. And this home is going to just further fuel that initiative to continue to cement Fairhope as one of the foundational places for tech entrepreneurial development within our state. We've been one of the largest awardees from Innovate Alabama, the state's innovation arm, further showing their confidence in what we're doing there with our initiative at Hatch. And while we're so excited to have this permanent home to further fuel these entrepreneurial developments, we have over 5 companies right now looking to relocate their tech businesses to Hatch and embed it here in Fairhope. We have one company soon that will be announcing that's moving their C-suite to Fairhope because of funding not only from Innovate Alabama, but the support from Hatch. And it's all due to your vision alongside of us and your partnership. And so we're excited about what comes and happy to answer any questions you may have about the conceptual rendering of the courtyard in front of you.
So the first question I have, you're looking to Baldwin Alliance is going to expand the funds to have the design portion covered with the hope, I'm assuming, that once you've got the design and a shovel-ready project that you can go out and get some additional grant dollars, or?
That's correct. We have some funds that we have allocated for the hopeful delivery of this. Again, what we're going to cover right now is the design. And so I'm okay to share that. We're going to cover $90,000 in design cost. So we're bringing that money. It's our funds that we're putting into this because we believe that this is a needed and will be a well-used attribute for the property. Once we get done with final design, we will then have a hard bid document that will be able to bid out the phases and see what the true cost is of delivery of this courtyard.
Okay, council, any questions for
I
Lee?
think you were hitting on it, Jimmy. My question was that, they're funding the design. I don't know where we have budget to build it out. Once it's bid, if the design's 90,000, it's probably gonna be 900,000. So, pretty expensive courtyard, pretty luxurious. I just wanna know where the money's coming from before we build it. Looks great. The design's awesome, and I think it is a great asset, and hope we find it.
Yeah, and again,
Still a question to be answered, though.
yeah, that is a question to be answered. Again, we understand that, again, we've delivered a lot of funds to this. We're also delivering additional funds for the build out for the facility, but we do think this is a critical piece of the full delivery of the facility. And again, we look forward to continuing the conversation after design is finished of what we realize is going to be the construction. And that's why we asked the Thompson Watermark team to do a phased approach. We think it's important to go ahead and cover the full design of the courtyard, of the entirety of it. But we believe that at a minimum, we want to build at least phase one, which is really all the way to the bottom of the red brick with the Fairhope emblem in it, as you can see. So we consider that phase one, and then you can kind of see the next two blocks of phase two and phase three.
Question about the facility itself. Is that built out behind the courtyard to the west? Is that actually being constructed now? I didn't realize.
Yeah, so what you see in
there is a space
what
there
you
that's
see in
being
that
built out.
drawing, both wings, what we call the north and south wings, that is where the permanent facility structure will be, where it ends and begins, as you see it in the conceptual drawing. And so you see
Well, I'm seeing something to the west, am I not? I'm seeing interior of the building to the west.
Yeah, so when you see, let me get my bearings here.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
to the west, you'll see that this courtyard aligns with the westernmost tip of the south wing. Does that make sense?
I'm not, you want, let me ask, just cut to the chase here. I thought that, I didn't know that existed.
That's the front. That's the front of the.
Oh, I'm looking at it the wrong way then, okay. I gotta look at it upside down. That makes a lot more sense.
That's west.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay,
all
I'm with
good.
you now.
Yeah, so the back of the courtyard is west. That is the front of the K1 Center that faces Church Street.
I got you.
Yep.
All right.
So again, what you'll see when you come in the building there, Jack, you'll see that,
Yep, makes a lot of sense.
you'll see that's glass on the east side of that front wing. So you will see directly, when you're standing in the lobby of the K1 Center, you will see directly into this courtyard. And that's another strong belief of why we think, designing this and building it at a minimum phase one is critical to the property. Because again, that is how the facility will flow from the lobby area, general area where we have our technology entrepreneurial development studio, our tech suite studio, and then our open cafe co-work area.
The architect's fault. They put north to the left on the page.
That is north. That is north.
No, I'm not saying they're incorrect. I'm just
Okay.
saying, it's a quirky way of looking at it,
High
you know.
sc- high
When you
school-
hand you
high school
this and north,
students, how
that
do we-
way.
How do we
it's
directionally
hey,
get north, south, east, and west?
Waze doesn't do that, man.
Never eat shredded wheat, right? All right. Well, again, we do think that the phase one portion, again, delivered will help not only the aesthetic, but the usability of all the space. I think sodded, the usability of this space would be practically 10%. Built in this manner, in this design, we'll get 100% functionality out of this space. instead of thinking what could be down the line. And while we have a contractor engaged on site and we have mobilization, that is the time to try to achieve a project like this before the facility is finalized.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Does Hatch have the same limitations on subleasing as Hope Community as far as?
No, I mean, we have, within our lease, we have the ability to have Hatch entrepreneurs in the space from a standpoint of financially. We are financially bearing the cost of operating this space.
Yep.
So we will not have, in the traditional sense, sublet leases with tenants. We will have members of Hatch that are operating in this space.
And we acquired the properties on two different times. I'm not sure that this project had the same kind of reversionary language that the other one did. Yeah. Yeah. The other was more of a conditional transfer. Right.
When was the school originally built?
1926, 25, yeah.
Thankfully, you saved it.
We have. I mean, I think ultimately, that's what we look forward to celebrating when we open this facility is the guidelines and the design team, you as partners have guided and directed for us to make sure. And that was what the community input said when there was community listening sessions around this property was achieve the historic resemblance and nature of this facility and save as much of it as possible. And I don't know that any other use or any other grant program out there that we in Hatch allowed us to have at our disposal could have saved this building in the entirety that we're able to save it. The historic windows, the historic preservation of the facade, and truly the energy that's going to be back in this building is going to be something that we're all going to be super proud of.
My grandmother graduated from there in 1927, and there's a picture of her in the front. So it just means a lot. And then, of course, I went to school there, my kids did, so it's generational.
It means a lot to us.
does.
I mean, this is one of the projects, I mean, I've been able to be a part of the state's single largest investment in $5 billion in Novellis, and I can tell you this project makes me just as proud because of what we've been able to achieve and the timeline it's taken to get there. I think that makes it even sweeter that all of us that have been on this project from day one have fought to make sure that it is preserved in the way that it is and that we're going to be delivering financial, economic, and technology impact to this community that's going to have long-ranging benefits for many, many years to come.
Lee, what's the plans for the front courtyard?
That's a great question. We are working through that right now. Again, we have a landscape plan, but we do not have a full design for the front of the facility at this point as far as a front courtyard.
Are you already funding one for that? Is that part of the original design?
It's a part of that. But yeah, Nick, you want to?
No, the fee is included with that site.
Yeah, so I mean, this design fee that we're covering will have some design elements for the front.
For the front and the rear. Yeah,
That's
I mean, the
correct.
front's going to be where the people see most, right? It's right there across from the park. It's right where everybody's driving around, so.
That's correct.
The back needs to look good, but the front needs to look great.
Yep. We are right there on the same page with you. So yeah, this design fee that we are covering at our expense will
We'll
also
include that as
incorporate
well.
that as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Well, when you get finished, you can have us for a tea party, a garden tea party.
I promise you, we're going to celebrate this facility in a major way. So stay tuned for details on that.
Okay?
Yep.
Any other questions for Lee? Everybody good? Thank you, Lee.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your
Appreciate you.
partnership.
Yes, sir. All right, next item on the work session agenda is the River Mill Community Park built by the Fairhope Single Tax Corporation. Richard Johnson, once again.
Yes, sir. And I do want to just backtrack for a second, and because I know Council President Conyers asked this question when we asked to make this presentation. As you know, we still have an active contract with a team that includes Thompson, Watermark, and Watershed, Rebecca Bryant, on campus master planning. And since we are now at the point where kind of the knowns are known, what kind of where FIF is landing, where the Hatch facility has landed as far as footprint, so they have already incorporated the concept of the courtyard into the master planning. They have updated a few things, and I hope to be reaching out to y'all maybe next month for them to bring their current findings to talking about options, performing arts centers, parking, and all those other things that we want to holistically see on this campus. So I just want to make sure that that's being kept in mind as well. The next item is kind of an interesting item. Just to go back in the way back of history, as you know, Single Tax donated a piece of property that is in the front of River Mill subdivision. That is just a little bit east of Walmart on the south side of Fairhope Avenue or County Road 48. And they cleaned that property up before they donated it to us. And then says, and we may want to come back and build you a park there. And so Single Tax has engaged Sawgrass Consulting. They have worked with several of the city folks and their stakeholders and everything else, and they have derived a community park plan that they want to share with you. And your handout there looks like this one on the front, and it has a lot of pretty pictures included in it. But just to kind of
The one that from north that goes up while you're there.
yes, north is up.
I'm so embarrassed by that.
We know you're smart, Jack, no worries.
And the reason that we're here is the Single Tax presented this concept to their board at their last meeting, and their board has approved the funding, which means that there's a 30-day window. So we didn't want them to keep moving ahead without first coming to council and sharing this plan. Just in a highlight, it will involve public parking along there, the entrance of River Mill. There will be courts of pickleball and a full basketball court, a playground, a pavilion, a bathroom, and some trails. With ultimately, and in the future phase is maybe a wooden boardwalk over the floodplain and a perimeter walking trail, but this is kind of the community park portion of it first. And one of the things that we will be coming back to you, if you're in support of this, will be to ask you to take some actions that we have to do to make everything above board in the fact that we're going to have a capital public works type project built in our property that we're not paying for, we're not managing, it's not our project. So we will be coming back to you and asking for you to grant Single Tax and their assessors and their assigns a right of entry and temporary construction easement to build this park. And then once that park is completed and accepted, then it reverts back to us, okay? Also, we have the benefit as a city to participate in cooperative purchasing alliance that sell playground equipment and pavilions. And we were able to work with Single Tax to let them see what our prices would be for those types facilities. And we would like to come back and ask for you to authorize the purchase with 100% reimbursement from Single Tax to order that pavilion and playground system to be delivered to their contractor to be installed. And then also support in making sure we have a water meter and a sewer connection to support the bathroom. And of course, have our electrical department, who's already talked to, can't remember if that's Riviera or EMC, but they're willing to let that be in our electric, since it's a city property, to handle the overall park electric. So,
Okay. There we go, some pictures.
yeah, so we're excited about this, and we have Jay Robertson with Sawgrass, who's the project engineer. And Jay, if you want to share anything, I know he worked on the drainage because there is a large drain through this property, and it is a floodway, and that was one of the things we had to design to make sure we didn't have any encroachments there.
This
So
is
Jay?
Jay Robinson?
Robertson.
Oh, Robertson, I was getting ready to say, we can get you to sit right up here.
Yeah, no, we get confused all the time. Yeah, it's just to reiterate some of the things that Richard was talking about. We're going to have 12 parking spaces, a full basketball court, 3 pickleball courts, which is, there's all very popular things. The 1,000 square foot open pavilion, and then a 225 square foot restroom facility will be on the south edge of the south pickleball courts there. To kind of have all the amenities there. The grading we're going to have, have to stay out of the floodway, of course. So to keep the slope on the courts correct and everything, will be built up on the west side, roughly 1.5 feet to 2 feet from natural ground, and then tying back in with natural grade on the east side. Drainage will be picked up with some inlets that'll be sporadic throughout the design there, and conveyed back to the west and southwest. And then Richard was also talking about the kind of the walking path that we have there. It's it's over 1,000 linear feet of walking path throughout, with concrete walking path. And then we'll also cross back to the east along the entrance and tie into the existing sidewalk along the east side of River Mill Drive there.
All right, any questions for Jay?
I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to help downtown Fairhope, actually, to have a park in that area with parking.
Yeah, so a couple of quick questions, you know, related to parking, actually. Do we have adequate parking, and is there any bike parking there?
We don't have any bike parking, but we could add that pretty easily along one of the, because we have 8-foot sidewalks along the front there. We can just build a pad for a bike area.
I would suggest adding a
Absolutely,
bike
sure.
pad
Especially
there.
for the River Mill
Yeah, I
subdivision.
mean, you know, hopefully the residents use it, but, you know, do you think we have adequate vehicle parking there?
Yes, I do, and we have one required handicap space there, which we couldn't get really any closer to 48 there with people backing out, you know, just not make a traffic hazard there. But I think that's more than enough parking for what amenities we have here at this.
Anytime we can.
40?
There's 12 parking spaces there, but it's, we're trying to stay out of the vicinity of County Road 48 when these cars back out, so it doesn't create a traffic hazard there.
Okay.
All right, and so that really, right now,
Parking
the
does seem tight.
next step is for us to sign the, I guess, the deed or the revisions that would allow single tax to move forward with this project. And what was their time frame, Richard, did you say?
I've already turned in the document to Lisa and Marcus for review, and our goal would have it on the next council agenda.
Okay, and then did,
Still within their 30-day window.
okay, and did they have just a ballpark ETA on the whole construction process for them?
If we started, I would say in, you know, March, you're looking at about a 3 to 3.5 month process to build this.
So sometime in the summer, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know if this would be during your phase or when the city takes repossession of it, but water bottle refill stations would be great. Looks like this is just fountains right now.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what's in the men's and women's room, but with young kids, baby changing stations, a step for like you see at Target and other places, so the kids can step up, so the parents don't have to hold them up. That's a
Sure.
little thing that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
He's a professional in that area.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's not
I
spoken
can change a
like
diaper in
somebody
15
who
seconds
knows.
flat, just watch
Yeah,
out.
They're going to be mad that you don't have a splash park, though. Those are popular.
Yeah,
Those are expensive.
they are. Any other questions?
No,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great stuff.
A lot of good,
Just get them a water hose
projects
like we used to
today.
have.
And I'm assuming it's public knowledge, but I will say that what single tax is invested in this small park is a significant dollar amount. I mean, I have never in my public life worked with somebody who, when I showed him a playground, he says, I want more. And I mean, and the pavilion, he had to have a cupola on it. We're the guys that are always like, well, we're trying to keep costs down, and it was like, cost is no option. So,
Yeah,
so
They're
it's
good to
exciting to be in that
fun
situation.
to work with people like that.
they are good to us.
Now, they are obligated to spend it, so.
And then the last item I have.
Yes, sir. Joan's Plaza project.
Council is, I put a stapled sheet that looks like this in front of you, okay?
Sir.
So the top sheet is what the low bid opened at, and I do want to kind of give you a little preamble to how we got to this point. When we got a construction estimate that we put in the budget for this year, it was based upon some assumptions. And one of those assumptions would be much like Gaston Plaza, that we would self-perform on the actual planting of the flowers and the trees, because frankly, Public Works does it better or equal to any private landscape company. And we would also self-perform on electrical. And then in the process of kind of wrapping up final design, if you remember in some presentations, there was a desire to carry the wall down Bancroft to cover the whole width of that, or length of that parking lot, to really kind of hide it and everything else. That was not anticipated in the original budget. And to kind of give you an idea of what that cost is, that is when you see columns and fencing, that's a $72,950 add-on to that project that was not originally anticipated in the budget. So when we opened the bid, we're above budget, and I know Councilman Gammons does not,
Richard, it sounds like you're trying to blame us.
No, he says Richard has some explaining to do, so that's what I'm trying to do.
We're getting ahead of him these days.
So when we did the base bid, we put in that the base bid would include the topsoil and the bed prep per plans and the irrigation, because irrigation is one of those things is that we don't do real well. It's a pain, and those that do irrigation do it efficiently and everything else. But we did want an additive alternate to see what was the real value of having a landscape company actually put the flowers and the grasses and the trees in the different beds and everything else. And you see that's a $54,086 upcharge for that service. The other thing that we put in as an alternative is we're putting a brand-new fence along Bancroft. That sidewalk's not in good shape. What would it cost to just go ahead and replace that sidewalk for the whole length of the parking lot? And you see that price. So if you go to the next sheet, contractors already sat down with us and says, hey, there's some things that can be value engineered here very quickly. One is I got with Ben and our electrician, electrical superintendent. He said, well, $30,000 is way more than what we needed to do the lighting in there, so we could cut that contingency in half. So that's a reduction of $15,000. The other thing is the contractor came back and says, I don't know why we put a 15% contingency. I don't see any way in the world we're going to run into any unknowns that is that great, and recommended to reduce it to 5%, which would basically be a savings of about a reduction of need to award of over $40,000. And then strike and not take the option on alternative one, okay? And as you'll see in my note, what we would do is have the GC procure the plant material under the contingency that remains, that 5%, and the city will plant that plant material. Because basically, it's about $8,000 worth of plant material, trees and bushes and flowers and things of that nature. And that gets us down, if we keep the sidewalk option, to $432,398.14. That's still over budget, and I don't know where Kim will find where we can get that, but really when you look at that number, it gets very close to what that additional wall cost us that we decided was important to this project. So that's how we got it. We would love to keep this project on track if you are of that interest, because our goal was this construction would start after Arts and Crafts, which means if we can have this before you at the first meeting of March, we're right on schedule for that. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. And, there's some other small items that we could take out of this contract, such as the site furnishings. It's not necessary for the completion of the project, but that's only a saving of $4,500. So that's the tables and chairs and things like that. So be glad to answer any questions, and just want to know how we got to this point. And I think it's going to be another wonderful enhancement to our community. And, I do think that when we work in the confines of the Central Business District, prices are a little higher because it's a tough area to work. It's tight. It's hard to stage materials and have working area and things of that nature. But I know y'all have seen this multiple times in conception and final design, and we're here, and we'd love to keep moving forward if you'd be willing to consider it.
Sure.
All right, well, I'll start by just saying, I think that the Gaston Plaza and the Arts Alley are such enhancements to what those two pieces of property looked like before we did it, that I would love to see us continue moving forward on this. And I do think the wall would be, I'm just trying to envision that, and I feel like that would be an addition that we would want to have along there. I think it's probably worth spending the money on that. But council, I'll go ahead and open the floor for y'all to ask questions of Richard if you've got any questions or comments or concerns.
Yeah, Mr. President, I appreciate it, Richard. I kind of like the total cost. It seems a little high, but that's the cost of doing business in downtown. To not get too much in the weeds, I was looking at the irrigation. We got a lot of pavers. there's almost $10,000 worth of irrigation for an area half the size of this room maybe, and it's mostly paved. Is that just from having to go through concrete, or what's the big deal there?
Well,
Can't have more than 3
and it-
sprinkler heads in the whole thing.
Well, each one of those circular beds that'll have a tree in it will have a drip system in it, and they're all interconnected. So, yeah, it's not a big system. It's probably a little more complex than what you would have for a lawn or a little bit larger landscape area, but that, and again, that's an item we could strike. This contractor's subbing that out anyway, and, we could water with a water truck, which we do. But it's one of those things is that our horticulture department, that's the one thing they ask. If you get somebody else to put the irrigation in, we can take it from there. Because it's just, if it's, either it's done right or it's not done right, and they can maintain it from then on out. But you're right, that is a big
I think
project.
3 tree
expense.
wells at $9,200 just seems excessive.
Yeah, but they're bougie. I mean, they've got the precast stone caps on the top of them, it's brick veneer, and got the phone chargers in the side of them, which kind of cracks me up, so.
Fairhope's fancy now.
Richard,
Well, we're gonna be broke at this rate too.
there's some money that's earmarked for new tree planting that they have from the court system. When people cut city trees or they cut limbs without permits, and there's some earmarked money that has to go back to
Planting trees.
planting new trees, and I don't know if that's taken out of that project or what. It wouldn't come out of the general fund.
Okay.
It would be another pool.
I'll ask him about that, so, okay.
So you may have some more funds to play with that we have to spend that way.
Richard, a few questions, thank you.
Okay.
Just to confirm, so when you're saying alternate one, and you're scratching that out, we would still have all the landscaping and trees and plants exactly like it would be, except we'd just be doing it ourselves instead of contracting now, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so there's no change there, it's just a change in who's doing it?
Yeah, yeah, and let's be honest, there is a cost to the city, but our horticulture department is gonna work 40 hours a week, every week anyway.
Right.
So there's just gonna be a week that they go up there and plant this versus us paying a third party to do what we do every day.
Right.
So
Richard, what was the original budget for this item?
350 was what was for construction.
Basically out the cost of the wall, column and the fence.
Yeah, just about, that's about it. Richard, what if, it's gonna be a lot of pavers, we thought about selling them, like we did other parts of downtown?
That runs out of the mayor's office, and I know that there has been continued discussion about continuing memorial pavers, but I don't have an answer to that question, so.
Might be a way to fund it a little more. Do you have the final plans again that you can send out?
Yes,
So we can see these fancy tree planters and,
yeah, I'll be glad to send them out. I'll send them out tomorrow.
I'm good.
And if I could be selfish, I'm gonna cover my 3 items on the agenda, and then I'm gonna leave because I think I'm dying, so.
You didn't sound
was that,
100%.
we grilled you that
The
badly?
good news is I feel worse than I sound, so,
Oh, that is good news.
All right, yeah,
Bless
if
your
you don't
heart.
mind, while you're
Keep
here,
your distance, please.
go ahead and hit them up.
Item number 11 is we're asking your support to apply for the Rebuild Alabama Annual Grant, which gives us $350 with a $100K match to do road improvements. And what we are targeting, and you have that in your packet, is County Road 13. We got everything south of Morphe taken care of in the last couple of years, and we want to take care of Morphe north all the way to the end of city limits, which is Mosley Road. And as you know, if you depart the roundabout heading north off of Fairhope Avenue, we got a little base failure going on there, and that road is delaminating, so this would include addressing that base failure and rebuilding that base. And there's no cost at this point in time unless we win the grant, but we'd like your permission to apply for it. Then item 12, Paige and I are both working on, and that is budgeted, and that is to select GMC as the architect for the bathroom remodel at the Nick Center. And it's a small project architecturally, and it's a small project budget-wise, but we need to get that moving because they're targeting to do that work in the months of July and August of this summer. And then we opened the budgeted bathroom bids for the new youth baseball restroom, and we're asking to award that to GAF companies. And if you notice there was 10 bidders, and Mr. Gammons were almost $50,000 under budget. So,
Hey, you might want to save that for a plaza.
okay.
Yeah.
Pat, how about a loan? All right. Thank y'all.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Hope you feel better, Richard.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Richard? Are we good with him heading on and going home, you think?
Go home, get in bed.
All right,
Yeah.
I plan to.
hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right.
Right.
Let's see. On that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and jump to committee updates, and then we'll circle back around to department head updates. Councilman Burrell, any committee
Yeah,
updates?
we had an airport authority meeting last Tuesday. Of course, the new renovated runway is open for business. We had to suspend some traffic for a while, or, it was limited operations, and so our fuel sales suffered for the duration of that, but it's coming back pretty quick. Also, we've got several people applying for some more lots out there, some real interest in that. And we also renewed our insurance, and the insurance market's softening up a little bit since, no major storms hit the U.S. mainland last year, and so we're saving a little money on insurance. Looking good right now. Everything's looking good out there. And we look forward to them turning that land over on the west side back over to the city, sometime soon. We've still got some things to tie up with some of the grants on the related to road construction on the west side. But once we get all those loose ends tied up, they can make that transfer back to us, and they're going to pay us back some money.
Councilman Gammon.
Good afternoon. The tree committee did not meet, but we have been working on some things, the two gentlemen in the back, so hoping that we get some more news on that in the coming months. But good stuff there. The Fairhope Environmental Advisory Committee did meet and talked about some potential partnerships with Daphne, utilizing, they're a bee city now, and creating some like natural pollinator boulevards, right, Hunter? Something along those lines. And Hunter had a great presentation using ArcGIS and all the different things in terms of getting a good catalog, sort of baseline for what green space and active space and all kinds of different minutia about what the city has for green space and the determination of what's green space versus active versus a gully versus, so it's important stuff. It's might make a lot of other people fall asleep, but it's good stuff that we need to know. So they're working hard on that.
I think that's time-consuming work that
Yeah,
that
it
is
is.
very relevant and important, but just somebody has to do it.
Yeah, so good stuff there.
All right, Councilwoman Booth?
Oh, I have not attended any meetings lately. I've got some coming up. The pedestrian bicycle safety committee is coming up. But I just want to thank Lisa Hanks because, being the new person, she has been so gracious and helped me tremendously. And I want to thank our department heads because every time I make a phone call, they immediately call me back, and you guys are just doing a fabulous job. And I don't know if everybody knows, but this community is being run like a fine-tooth comb, and there's happy people everywhere. So thank you for that.
And I've got Parking Authority meets next Thursday. Planning Commission meets March the 2nd, and then I've got a couple other meetings that would be later on in March, so not a whole lot of updates at the moment for me. Next item would be going over department head updates, and we'll go ahead, we've still got a pretty good bit of time, so we'll cover as many of these items in detail as we can, so that hopefully we can move through the agenda fairly quickly, so. Now, Richard covered 3.
It's not bad tonight.
Who else is up? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, y'all. I'm Camille Hausman, Junior City Council President, and I'm here for the discussion on item number 15, or discussion on item number 15, resolution for the pickleball tournament.
Right.
All right, and Camille mentioned to me before the meeting that they have Saturday, April 4th down, but that's the Saturday directly before Easter. They had actually already run it by Pat White to move the date to April 25th.
Yes, April 25th.
Pat, you're on board with that? Pat's on board? And Junior City Council, y'all are on board with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Junior
Oh.
City Council.
Well, I was looking to them.
Yeah, no, I know. I said Junior City
Oh, yeah.
Council.
I missed the junior.
Oh, yeah. So when we get to that agenda item, if somebody would just change the
Yeah.
date when they're making a recommendation, that would be great. Any questions for Junior City Council on that tournament?
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening. I have agenda item number 16. You have in your packet the approval of Magnolia River from a previous council to select Magnolia River for this item, but now we're just back discussing the dollar amount. It's a budgeted item. It's for our PHMSA grant. It's for them to profile our system and to assist with that grant. So just here to answer any questions you have for that.
$20,000, Safety Administration, okay. Any questions for Wes on that?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Sure. Good evening.
Hello.
Hey, Pat?
See, I have, well, we covered 15. I have item number 14. Get fences put around the fields that we are renovating in Barnwell. We're converting 2 baseball fields into pretty much multi-purpose fields, but predominantly will be used by youth football. And this would be for the fencing to surround both of those fields.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're not used currently by baseball really that often.
Correct.
Okay, because I know they're always looking for fields too, but nobody's going down to Barnwell, so we're making that football, Volanta for baseball, okay? Any questions for
I
Pat
have
on
a
the
question. Is
fencing?
Kim here?
She's on vacation, I think.
Okay. It says available budget 0, but then there's a note below that, total project budget 150. So that available budget is kind of a misnomer, isn't it? It's coming out of that 150,000?
It is coming out of that
total project budget?
150, yes, sir.
Are we within budget on that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
I don't think we'll even come close to 150.
See, sometimes we pick on you and it's not fair because the form is a little misleading there.
No, we'll be in good shape on that one.
What else are you looking to do with that budget?
So we are bidding out all the materials that we will be using to build the fields with in-house labor.
Okay.
So we'll be buying irrigation supplies and soil amendments and sod and things of that nature to build the actual fields.
Okay.
Can you run up there with irrigation
I was
and
gonna say.
irrigate those trees?
Maybe for 5,000?
I don't do well around asphalt.
Taking on you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great bid, too.
Good evening. How are you doing, Eric?
We have the second reading, item number 8, second reading for the review procedure for historically significant buildings. So if you have any questions, I think we talked about it at the last one, and the commission is very, very excited and very thankful that you put this on the agenda and are supportive of it. So anything you need, let me know.
Done a good job with that, Richard.
Thank you.
Eric, I think that
Eric, sir.
it's kind of like the roundabout discussion before the first one was built at 13.
Yes, sir.
Until everybody started driving around it and they liked it. This is
Yeah.
going to be benign.
I agree.
Ultimately.
Well, and in talking with Mara, she had asked me, just based on permitting coming in, she was like, are we going to see 2 or 3 of these a month? Are we going to see 1 a month? I said, just depending, since it's specific to districts, you might see one every 2 or 3 months. It's not going to be
That
just
much.
a huge influx.
Yeah.
So, but it is, I think it's very useful. You know, we were talking about it. We've got 6 historic structures right now in town that are all under renovation that they saved. And talking to the commission about making sure they're recognized, all of the people who are doing it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
All right. Evening. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Evening, Aaron.
All right, I'm kind of filling in for Kim while she's on
Thank you.
vacation for resolution number 17, that we're requesting the amendment to the administrative policy and procedure quality-based selection for the professional
Questions
services
on?
for projects under $100,000. So this would be for to have where any of the professional services between $5,000 and $30,000, where we would just need to have city council approve it one time, as opposed to having one resolution to approve the selection and then one resolution to approve the fees.
And just for clarification, real quick, it's between 5 and 25, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
Okay,
5 and
just double
25,000,
checking.
my bad.
No worries.
That's
Just wanted to double check.
Only for, I'm trying to remember, because we went back and forth on this about, so the procurement limit is 25,000, but then the professional services at 100,000?
Well, this applies to under 100,000, but it's only between 5 and 25
Got
that
it.
it can come forward as a one action rather than
Right,
two.
because they're approved
two steps.
vendors and everything else, that's right. Right.
Correct, yes, and these are pre-qualified professional services, so we have a list of pre-qualified firms
Right.
that we pull from.
Okay.
Just eliminating a step, basically.
Exactly.
Questions?
All right.
I have something that, can you give this to Kim? It was given to me to give to Kim. And I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you
We
filling in.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item. Got, and, yeah,
So, number 5 is the zoning amendments, but that's a public hearing, so we typically wait till that. There's the final adoption of the zoning ordinance item number 9. That's annexation for one house on a larger lot. And item 10, Ben's here, and I know Mayor's also worked on that. There is a stipulation within the city code, it's not a zoning, so, but there's a stipulation for streetlights that we will pay the energy bills for those streetlights. This is just a quick amendment to that, clarifying what we're paying for. Uplighting, landscape lighting, things like that is not in what we're gonna do. So it's just a clarification of what we are paying for under that ordinance. I believe was adopted in 2019 originally. So I know Ben's here if there's any questions as well.
and this is specifically streetlights for,
Well,
what-
it's more for subdivisions.
It's public, it's
Yeah.
it's street light, part of the infrastructure. When we bring an acceptance resolution for new subdivision or things, roads, water, sewer, utilities, our public drainage within those are accepted for public maintenance. Streetlights are usually not installed at that time. So our regulations essentially say, well, we will cover the energy cost of those when asked for previous, because they are a public good. There's a safety for that, so we'll pay the energy cost of those streetlights.
the only reason I'm kind of asking, I know I've owned property in a subdivision in Gulf Shores, and we had to pay Ball and EMC
That's right.
every month, so.
I've talked with Brian Seals with it. So it's a little different for us because our territory's not as big. So we have multiple subdivision in our city limits, but it's not in our electric territory. So that fine line right there, and then our ordinance says that we will pay for the energy costs, not maintaining fixtures or replacing fixtures. So most, like Gulf Shores down there, they charge, the developer puts them in, and they charge per fixture, per stick. And for the first year, it's the developer or the HOA, and then EMC will actually start taking those over, but you still pay,
Pay for
say if each
energy.
fixture's $50, you're paying $50.
But, and I guess where I'm going is, what is typical across the county or the state? And, are we leaving a ton of money on the table, or is this something we ought to do out of the public good, I guess?
Well, I would say, if we did it, we would have to hire pretty much a whole nother crew just to go around and fix subdivision lights. Me personally, I don't think we need to be in that business, just maintain what we've got.
Yeah.
This is more for, like I said, for the public sector of it, when you go taking over these neighborhoods and the streets.
And then, okay.
It's been brought to our attention, but like I said, everything in our ordinance says we just will pay the energy cost.
Right,
not
they
maintain
maintain,
fixtures.
okay.
But everything out there is non-metered just about because they pay per fixture price.
Gotcha.
So, and there are 3 electric territories within our city limits. And that energy cost is for those that's not within the Fairhope electric service territory.
Right now, we're paying for everything?
No,
Bits and pieces.
frankly, we are paying for some. The ordinance that was adopted
sorry, I
in
muted.
2019 allows any subdivision that we're not paying for to ask the city for that. And I don't
Has
think
anybody
Ben or
not
here
asked the city to pay for it?
Well, that's the reason we're here. We got one.
We have one that did ask, so.
For the power or for the fixtures?
Well,
They asked for a
Power.
lot. We're
I mean, let's
determining
just
what
say
we
you
can pay
have
for.
a neighborhood that designs gold fixtures and then
So
one tree
No.
hits one. We
the
got to pay
thing
for
of
it?
it is, they pretty much have a list of what pictures they can pick,
We're
what
talking
holes
about,
they
yeah,
can pick.
clarifying the energy.
And we have to accept it also, but, Riviera only offers so many fixtures, Baldwin offers so many fixtures, so they have to have those fixtures. And then they maintain them.
Right.
And then we pay
So
the,
The HOA is going to maintain the fixtures, is
No,
that
sir.
correct?
They're actually, the utility company maintains it.
Utility
if-
company.
If they take it over. Now, if they come in, like Councilman Burrell said, they go gold, platinum plated fixtures, then that's totally on them.
That's what Jimmy and them have in their neighborhood.
Is it?
And a lot of times you will see that in a neighborhood, and there's an agreement that they will maintain those indefinitely.
Gold streets,
And in
too.
any case, the developer is paying for those installations on the front end.
Right.
we're paying the power cost.
Yeah.
We
Back to
will
that.
pay.
So are there now HOAs that we're paying the light for their sign, right? That
That's
this
what-
would transition to now we'd have to start having them be billed for it?
That's what at least portion of these amendments clarify, because you kind of get some weird,
That's
the one we're
landscaping and
looking at
uplighting
in the
and-
gate, the lights are on the gate.
Right, that's what I'm thinking,
We're
right.
not paying for the energy cost of that, landscaping lighting, uplighting, sign lighting, things like.
We're not currently,
lighting
you're
in
saying?
Current, in common areas.
Power
no.
poles, street lights, basically.
Yeah. And you
not-
got a different animal. Sometimes it's gooseneck lights that are just on a kind of rural road. There might be one
Right.
light for the whole street.
All right, I might be slowing the uptake here, but you're saying that right now we're not paying for any of those? We are not paying for any sign lights, accent lights, up lights? That's not being paid for by the city, the energy?
As far as I know, no.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand if like
Yeah.
50 subdivisions are about to get a bill from the city all of a sudden, and we're gonna get about 100,000 emails asking why they're getting a bill, but
Right.
we're not currently paying for any of that stuff.
To our
Not
knowledge, I mean,
intentionally.
To our knowledge, no.
So
We
and
get
that's-
one lump sum from the outside electrics for a lump sum of the
I know the ones we
276 lights.
maintain in our system, so, and that's what I'm trying to help navigate. We're all trying to work
I
this
guess
through
I would ask
together
that we
because it's a
confirm
multiple-
that.
Multiple department deal.
If we are, we are.
And we'll
It was
continue to?
agreements done
Okay.
for a while. This is new ones coming in and how to address those. Some of those were not because of this ordinance. Again, this ordinance was adopted in 2019.
Right.
Some of it was agreements that might have happened 30 years ago. I don't know the details of those.
And I'm just trying to remember when this came up. I mean, very, very vaguely have some kind of recollection of this conversation. Do you remember that at all, Councilman Burrell? when this first,
I got a question about an ordinance, I got distracted. What was that?
do you even recall that when this came up in 2019 and we first passed this? Don't remember.
I do not.
But as it sounds, so we're paying the power usage for the streetlights as a
To
public.
my knowledge, we're
safety
paying
and-
several. I don't know which all ones we are. I think, Lisa,
And this is,
we had the
but this is
numbers on
related
that.
to one that came in and requested it.
Kim had all those? Okay. So Ms. Creech she has all the invoices and everything. We don't have those.
As far as we know, this is the first one that has asked since 2019 that ordinance was adopted.
And these lights are 25 plus years old. The utility doesn't even take care of those, so they have to have an electrician to come in, fix the lights. And it's one of those, we're not gonna take care of them, but
Right.
in the ordinance, it still says we pay for the energy uses. Well, we gotta figure out what the energy use is on it, because utility, Riviera is just charging them a stick or a fixture fee. It's not apples to apples.
Yeah.
That light might cost $5 to run, and they're charging $10 a month for the fixture.
So this is an old subdivision updating their lighting?
No, ma'am, they could upgrade, that is one thing these other utilities are doing, they're offering to upgrade to their lights, and then they
Yeah.
would maintain them, but these are copper lights, old iron poles, so they're very old, expensive lights.
Okay.
And then for their initial cost, they would have to pay that utility to come in and install brand-new fixtures, which would be a pretty hefty price. But then that utility would take care of those lights. In our ordinance, just says we will pay the energy consumption of them. So to do that, to get it really how you need to know the energy consumption it has to be metered to get it accurate,
And I guess my question back to full circle is just, is that normal for the city to step up and say, hey, we're gonna pay for the energy usage rather than just say, let the POA pay for it?
That's not uncommon. There's 100 different ways people do it. Some
Right.
cities install their own regardless of the electric company. We want this style of lights everywhere. We install it, we maintain it. That's usually a public works thing. And they still pay the bills sometimes, electric bills sometimes, so it's not uncommon at all to do this.
Ben,
Yes, sir.
not to belabor this one issue, but I'm reading this resolution or this ordinance, and it says that they would be installed or removed by the city of Fairhope at the request of the homeowner, HO provided, and there's just two bullets. If it's approved by the electric superintendent or his or her designee. What grounds would cause you to deny that? I mean, somebody has 3-year-old posts and they just decide 3 years later they don't like them. I mean, but they request it. Why are you, can you say no? I mean, you just replaced them 3 years ago, or,
I think maybe.
I don't know if it gives enough out
Yeah,
here for
maybe-
the city to
Maybe that
turn
was
down a
put in-
request.
Maybe that was put in, but when I said, if we go out there and they're not LED fixtures, that would be my thing. If we go up and we see a 10-year-old fixture that's a high-pressure sodium,
Sure.
A lot of times we can't get parts for them. We would,
Sure.
say, hey, pay the cost to have this fixture in, then we
Let
would.
me give you an example. They come out, they have new LED fixtures. 3 years later, the latest and greatest model comes out. I mean, you know what? You can't buy a new car every 10,000 miles because this model's 2 years old. I mean,
Yep, I would, maybe if I went and looked at one, I would look, if it's in good condition.
but this basically says if they request it, I mean,
They've gotta pay for the material, right? We would just be paying for the power usage.
Where does it say that?
Yeah, and that was my understanding in the ordinance. It was
If they wanna upgrade, they
they're
would have
outside
to
our
pay for
territory.
the
no,
electric
materials, right?
territory.
that's if they're outside.
Yes, sir. So inside, we maintain ours.
Okay.
And that's where it gets, so I got sort of involved in it because of streetlights.
I was wondering, could you put a bullet in it that says, there's a proven need or something like that? Just something that, other than they woke up one day and decided they wanted new lights
Right.
inside
Inside our territory.
your territory.
Which
Like
is,
you gotta have
we're pretty good, because everything we now, we got 3 standard fixtures and 3 poles. So they would have to have one of those fixtures that we have, we keep them in inventory.
Am I correct in understanding that the differences between the two ordinances is just you're adding that sentence that says the city will not pay for the energy costs for decorative accent, da, 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 da? Or is there something else that's changing on this ordinance?
I think that's pretty much it. Just very fine. Sorry, we don't have a copy. Me and Ben do not have a copy of that.
They just use me to go out and
In
fix
front
it.
of us right now.
I'm getting a question from someone involved on my phone. And he's asking, you did say that we will pay for the metering?
But the bad thing about it, they're not metered. So they're non-metered. Most of these that the utilities, it would cost more money for us to come put in meters, and. I mean,
That's why we pay for it.
Every light couldn't have a meter. So a lot of HOAs, they'll have a house meter, and it meters, say their irrigation pumps, all their lights.
Okay.
Well, this particular one doesn't. It just goes out, it comes out of the transformer, it hits each light.
So what are we going to do for them in this scenario? What are we going to
Something
do?
like that, we could come back and say, hey, see what wattage fixture they're using, and just, calculate how long it's on, how many kilowatt hours this fixture would use, and base it on what that utility charges. If not, you would have to actually build a house meter and meter that to actually get it down to the penny.
Mr. McDowell, question for you on the, I'm looking at section 9. Are you tracking this ordinance? I have not. Okay, could you?
Join us. It's we're in the weeds here.
Do you happen to have this anywhere on in your notes, your notebook?
I do not, I'm sorry.
Well, could you look on with someone? My question is going to be this. There's a bullet that says the location of the street light or removal is approved by the electric superintendent or his or her designee. I would really like to add language, and if you say it's implied, well, it's an implied, you're not materially changing the ordinance. We could introduce it. I mean, or has this been advertised, Lisa? It hadn't been, so we could change a sentence and say the location of the street light or removal is deemed necessary and approved. I just say, is deemed necessary and approved by the electric superintendent. Simple language like that? Okay, that's what I want to know.
We're just introducing it tonight. It's the first read.
Yeah, but I want it to be the first read. If we come back and try to adopt it, and it wasn't as the first read, you got to reintroduce it.
Yeah, so we want to.
So you just want somebody's going to modify that first bullet point of section 9.
Necessary and approved, yeah.
Or removal is deemed necessary and. Do I have a problem with that?
No,
I don't have a problem
that
with that
sounds
part.
like that catches it to me.
I don't know. I'm confused.
I think you're trying to say that's implied, but I'd rather cover ourselves there.
So in the future.
Gives you an out if you get out there and somebody requests
Not necessary.
something and you say, I don't really think you need a new light. That one's perfectly fine. And we expect you to use good judgment and be fair.
And that would just be on our electric territory, and then,
Yeah. Well, it would be under,
Outside that, they're paying
the
for
first
the
one,
material
so.
anyways.
Yeah.
Got it.
So what are you going to do with this subdivision? Can you give me the bottom line?
Ma'am,
You were talking about the.
that one particular?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's where we're getting there.
Okay.
I'm working actually with that utility to see what they're paying. Because
Okay.
it's not, I don't get to see that part of it.
Right.
And I think what Councilman Burrell's saying, anything in our territory, I would go out and look at it. Outside of that, it's up to them if they want that. But
Yeah.
this ordinance saying we will pay the energy cost outside of our territory, electric territory.
If
in the
we've
city
taken
limits.
over the roads
Yes,
for
sir.
maintenance.
That's
And
right.
sometimes it's not clear
Gotcha.
if we can separate those total cost.
Right.
So that's what we're
That's
trying to
fair
figure out
statement.
in this one. That stick price includes the maintenance
Yeah.
of the hardware,
the
the poles,
hardware.
the lights,
Yep.
and it's lumped in with the energy cost.
If it costs $2 to burn that fixture all night and they're charging $20 for the fixture, then there's an $18. So,
I think I'm tracking now, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really following it.
It was hard to
originally what we
follow.
were doing.
it's.
And I'm sorry, it's always the ones that seem easy that
Yeah.
wind up
And
taking
I
up a
hadn't
lot of
seen the
time.
ordinance, that's what I had Hunter come up here trying to.
One item that was.
Yeah. It would have been all of them because I didn't read it, so I apologize for
Any
that.
other questions for Ben or Hunter on this one?
No, we appreciate you, both of you.
All right, thank you.
And then Hunter, I guess you've got, the final adoption on number 9 for Pittman. And the, item 7, that's just, Fairhope, I can take that, that's just the Fairhope Public Schools Commission, making sure that since the location rotates around, that they're gonna announce it and publish it 7 days in advance of the meeting.
Business license one, I feel like we talked that one to death.
That was, yeah, we've talked about that one a bunch. Council, yeah, 18 is just a liquor license.
Anybody from the police
I don't see
station?
anybody. Hi, Chief.
Hey, there you are, chief.
Liquor license, or special events retail license for Bottles Up.
Everything checks out there for that.
All right. Well, council, we've got about a 20-minute break. Since the first item on here is a public hearing, we could come back in about 10 or 12 minutes, start the meeting and just not get into that public hearing till after 6, I think.
Well, we can start any time with 11, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could.
We'll take a 5-minute break and come
Take a
back to
little
11.
break, because I have to.
If y'all are ready to get rolling, we could take a 5-minute break and then jump in.
10, I got to make a
10.
phone call or two.
All right, 10, we'll be back at
Gotta stretch.
10 till we get started. All right, good evening, everybody. We're about to get started. All right, welcome to the Thursday, February 19th City Council meeting. We're obviously off on our days, but that's because we've got some other scheduling conflicts. But we're going to go ahead and open this evening with the invocation by Pastor William Quinn from Trinity Presbyterian Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you for all of the resources and abundance you have blessed us with here in this place that we call home. Guide us to be good citizens and responsible citizens with all that we've been blessed with, and guide our city council with wisdom and discernment as they make decisions that affect all of us. And we also ask you, Lord, that you protect our law enforcement officers as they go about protecting the citizens, guide them, and also guide our public works employees as they go about and do the work that we ask them to do. So be with them, protect them, and guide them all safely. In your Son's name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Quinn. All right, council, the first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes of the February 9th regular city council meeting and the minutes of the February 9th work session. Any additions, comments, or deletions?
I'll move to approve as submitted.
All right,
Second.
we got a motion and a second. Any changes? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Lisa, did the mayor leave a report for you? All right,
did not.
Mayor, sorry she can't be here. She's out with the flu, so we certainly wish her a speedy recovery and hope she's doing well. I'm sure she's watching remotely.
Yeah, she is.
Say, hey, Sherry.
Yeah, the next item up is public participation. Item number 5 is a
hearing.
ordinance for zoning. We will have a separate public hearing on item number 5, so you'll be able to address that later. So public participation right now is for agenda items 6 through 18, and then if you have something outside of those agenda items, you'll have one more opportunity to address the council at the end of the meeting. So right now, it's just 6 through 18. Again, item number 5 will have its own public hearing. So the floor is open. You got 3 minutes. Just give your name and address to the clerk. All right. Seeing none, I guess we'll go ahead and close the floor for public participation and go on to council comments. Councilman Burrell?
Yeah, no, I know that we're going to have a lot of lively discussion on the public hearing, item number 5. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I assure you that the council and I would anticipate no action being taken on that tonight. But I would just ask everybody to keep in mind that it's pretty complicated. I know that there may be some things that are put off until later, and there'll be a lot of concerns about that naturally. But just, you know, have a little patience with us to work through this, I would say, imperfect ordinance right now.
All right, Councilman Gammon?
Echoing really what Councilman Burrell says, where I think we're all on the same page here and what we're trying to achieve, really talking about Julian's Plaza. Beauty is important in Fairhope, and making sure that we maintain our charm is incredibly important, especially in our central business district and within city limits and at large. So we all want to make sure that we're making the best decision for that and for everyone as best that we can. So, thank you.
Councilwoman Booth?
I guess I just want to say that I've talked with Hunter for days, and he's been extremely stressed out. His heart's in this. He wants to do what's right for Fairhope. That's his job, and he likes to follow the rules. But we also have to make changes, and changes are sometimes hard. But he's also making sure that he's protecting our citizens and these homeowners. So everybody, please be patient, and we'll work together to try to make everybody happy.
All right, I just want to say thank you to the Public Works and the Police Department for another successful Mardi Gras season here in Fairhope. I think it was great weather and 3 great parades. Well, 4 if you count the dog parade, and a lot of fun, a lot of people out at all of them, and you know, just something really unique about our area, something that I always enjoy, look forward to every year. I'm sure Police and Public Works are glad to see it come and go without major incidents. And next up is Arts and Crafts. So thank you for being out here this evening.
I agree.
And now that it's officially 6 o'clock, I was kind of waiting. We'll go ahead to agenda item number 5, and this is a public hearing. It's an ordinance to amend ordinance number 1253 to consider the request from the City of Fairhope Planning and Zoning Department for amendments to the City of Fairhope zoning ordinance. Would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
I'll introduce the ordinance.
All right, thank you, sir. Hunter.
Thank
floor is
you.
yours.
I was hoping we'd go ahead and skip that for a little bit. Maybe everybody forget about it, but
I don't think so. Sure about that.
we're here and up for any conversation. I do want to echo. I do appreciate the input we've had. You know, it's always hard when you're making zoning amendments. There is no perfect zoning ordinance anywhere. Our current zoning ordinance is not perfect. So making improvements to that and in many sections is a challenge to do and make everyone happy. It's almost impossible. And part of that, it comes into the getting people part of the conversation. And, you know, I know, Council, y'all have been a part of these conversations for a while. I think we first sat in front of these amendments in August in a work session here, public hearings through the Planning Commission. Obviously in October and November, you kind of sent us back to the drawing board on a few things, and we discussed those. And, you know, that's kind of where I want to start. Just briefly updating kind of where a lot of there is a long list of amendments, and this is a background for everyone's benefit. There's a long list of amendments and kind of I'll put it a wish list that came from comp plan meetings in here in this room with Planning Commission, City Council, Board of Adjustment members, general public, design community, homeowners, and a lot of that focused on keeping Fairhope charm, character, how to get there needed to be broken down in pieces. I do appreciate your support. We have a budgeted item this year to start a process to hire an outside team to really not only take a look at our zoning ordinance, but all of our regulations and try to make those easier to understand, and where they've kind of been edited through the few years, get those cleaned up. That will be a multi-year process. So while I would love to have everything perfect in front of you to address everything, that's going to take some time to get to. So we broke out the important things and started chipping away at those and knew that it was going to be kind of iterative process. When we were here in October and November, there was a list of things, and that's kind of what I'm going to focus on, just the changes that we've seen since November. There's kind of our brief list of categories, changes to site plan requirements, and I'll go over each one of these where there's changes, why we didn't change, what we may do, look at in the future. But there was generally 10 groups of items that we did change that I do want to touch on. So this one on, and this is kind of the process, I'll show you the previous way it was proposed and the revised that's in front of you today for what we are asking for adoption. Mixed-use buildings had a limitation in the CBD. There was a general consensus to put some cap on what that could be. We've had developments come in, some denied, that might have 30 units. And we're specifically talking about a mixed-use building here, so the dwelling units as part of that component. The 7,000 was kind of an average of the buildings that were around. We invited input on that number for a while, even prior to the council meeting, but we did see that's acknowledge that that is maybe a little too much. So we came back with the 3,630 square feet for the lot for each dwelling unit. That's roughly 12 units an acre. And that's dwelling units in addition to the other uses that may be a part of that mixed-use building. I know that's, again, kind of hard to make everyone happy on what that number is. This was, in talking with our commissioners, our council, this was the number that seemed to be palatable. I do want to reiterate, this is a living document. If things don't work, we can always change them. I don't want this to sit there and not be edited for another 10, 15 years, but that we have to have a starting point. In relation to that, those mixed-use buildings had we created a floor area ratio that was 200%. We did increase that to 225%, and clarified the height in the CBD. We took out building height definitions altogether. That is, and agreeable, there's a need to change the building height definition. Our current one creates some problems for some properties, but what we proposed there was going back to the old way. And logically, let's take our time and get that one right. Our Planning Commission co-chair, Rebecca Bryant, has proposed an amendment that will be in front of the Planning Commission for discussion on March 2nd. That's an open conversation. We will work through the public hearings of those and invite input. There was gross floor area. Basically, the only thing here without reading it, gross floor area is in general a kind of generic definition used in many zoning ordinances and building codes. The one thing that we had unique in Fairhope was the rooftop terrace. That is a unique thing we created in Fairhope. So gross floor area really didn't address that calculation. So we added how to measure a gross floor or for the gross floor area in a rooftop terrace. And then probably the big one that there was overreaching a desire to take a residential out of commercial development. And that's broad reaching. That's from Greeno Road, Highway 181. We have a limited amount of commercial zoning districts. And for those to be eaten away by residential uses, it was not a preferred path we wanted for our future. There's a balance of commercial uses and the tax base they bring to support our parks and things like that. And right now, that's not a trendy thing, for commercial. I know that goes with what you see on 181, 104 might say otherwise, but some of the multifamily, some of the townhomes, some of the even single-family homes in commercial districts has seemed to be more palatable right now. Has a more market. So preserving those in general was our goal. We also acknowledged for a while we needed to address lodging type uses in a variety of ways. They're coming at us in different waves than you historically saw. Right now we have hotel, bed and breakfast, and a motel. Everything from now renting out rooms within an Airbnb to condo hotels and hotel miniums and a variety of other not unstaffed, hotels or multiple unit capacity. So we did acknowledge we need to get some different lodging uses. I think an item on the agenda right now, part of that was getting in the right tax codes and NIAX codes, as they're called. There's an agenda item so that people have an opportunity to get the business license for those specific uses. And I'm going to go in a little bit more detail. I just want to show how we're proposed to address this right now and why we chose this route. The single family, of course, I think a lot of folks here are in B3A, B3B. And that district is there in part to support tourism and lodging and does allow Airbnb. And another part, it's there for people to live in. It's their homes. And I think you'll see statistically it was a relatively small number that probably before October we kind of just missed the point on that one. Didn't think there would be an impact as a very small percentage. But we did acknowledge that there would be an impact on some of those existing homes if we, in the interim while we solve these lodging use. So what we did do, and while we did it, I've got on the screen now, not as part of the text amendments within the zoning ordinance as we proposed it, but right in the ordinance itself, there is a stipulation in there that those regulations will not impact any existing home within those regulations until January 1st, 2027. Why we put it there instead of just removing it, I'll go into a little detail, but this also makes it easier. If we don't get to those amendments, we don't have to revise the zoning ordinance. We can revise this, and I'll tell you, if we don't, by around November of 26, we probably need to either put uses back in, or we could alternatively just change that date. And you can change it indefinitely, but that's why we chose that mechanism. I'm gonna go into a little detail so you can kind of see from our side of what we were thinking even back in August and why we chose this path. There are almost 11,000 lots in the city of Fairhope. And when we looked at it mathematically, the B3A, B3B, there are a total of 99. And within those 99, there are 49 approximately single-family homes. I want to very clearly say that is, for us, was a very small percentage statistically of who we would affect. It does not, and I've been humbled, it does not mean that those 49 people do not have a legitimate concern and we should not address that. Very clearly, we never intended to make single family go away in those two districts. That was not the intention of what we were trying to do, and I'll show you kind of why we chose to take it out in the interim. And it really comes down to short-term rentals and those lodging uses. And this is probably the easy example. If you can build a single-family home in those districts, our requirements are you have to provide 2 parking spaces. Other than that, short-term rentals only says where they can be located within the city. If you went and got a business license to turn that into a short-term rental, there is no discussion on how many people can be there. That a neighbor that might have a single-family home next door to some of these could go in, put bunk beds in every bedroom, and that single-family home now houses 36 people with the cars and everything else. There's no regulations on when that converts to a single-family home into a vacation rental, what do you do to ensure that it's not an impact on adjacent neighbors? So this is why we took it out for new single-family homes to replace it with something, and that's the lodging uses that are tied to the tax codes and how we police those. And I want to be clear, not all of the short-term rentals are using loopholes like this. It is, there are some that treat that like and are great assets to the community. We don't want to put a burden on those uses either, just to make sure they're not creating a problem on other neighboring properties. This is kind of what it gets down to. I think this is a good example of, I know we had Mr. Presswood show up at the last meeting, and it's hard to put some of this together because since that meeting, we've had a lot of conversations and calls, and people sometimes don't start with the 100% truth. But what we were proposing, and this is a working document, coming back with a lodging use. And I'm going to, on this slide, calling it a tourist home. It would have the same setbacks that those single-family homes have today. And if you chose to use it as a single-family home, then you would be able to do that with no change to anything you're doing. But if you got a business license to turn it into a vacation rental, then there would have some regulatory measures to make sure, that are relating to the occupancy, parking, life safety issues. There's a little bit of a difference when you have transients, as opposed to somebody that lives here. They don't know what phone number to call for, So just some life safety issues, and of course signage as always. That was what our intent was. I know that's not perfect. I know it would be great if we had all this, buttoned up and everything was solved. I don't know if I can promise you that'll ever be the case with our zoning ordinance. It is a living document that is addressing things that are changing on us every day. There was a few other questions that I want to address. One of the questions, why are we requiring, in our site plan review processes, we added some uses. Mixed-use buildings were the only use. We added convalescent nursing home, automobile service stations, automobile repair, recreational vehicle parks, hotel, motel, and entertainment venue. And I think somebody said, well, you've got a great staff this time. Why can't you handle the staff level? What the site plan review allows us to do is put conditions on certain uses. So through that review, if you or planning commission so choose, not all of these are the same. A hotel can be 3 rooms and located in one area of town. It can be 170 in another. And what's going on around those, it was looking at those uses specifically in that specific area, what is happening in that adjacent, and being able to put conditions of those that we cannot do at the staff level. Another, and this was I don't know if I saw anybody that was really against this in theory, but we included some maximum impervious surface areas. Legitimate concerns on how we police that, if you will, permit that, review that, check for compliance. And truthfully, I kind of have a little concerns with that too. We're going to get those, and we're going to have to figure it out because there are unique things out there that we're going to have to work through that we didn't contemplate. But this seemed like it had overwhelming support for having some maximum impervious surface requirement. Currently, the zoning ordinance already requires every permit to get a permit in the city of Fairhope. It requires adequacy for control of surface drainage for any permit. It's hard for me to envision a place where you can control that if you don't know what your impervious surface area is. But this just helps us get there. I know we've got other conversations, and I don't want to take all the time. Can certainly be here. I will be here for most meetings, as long as you'll have me, and I'll answer any questions you have. This did come as a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission in November. We did take it back for a few amendments, and we do recommend approval as it is. So if there's questions, stay tuned.
All right. Would you prefer to answer council questions now or let the public go ahead and have open floor?
I'm indifferent.
I prefer council questions to staff, and then we may want to ask of citizens.
I think what
okay.
we'll do, just for everyone, we'll go ahead and let council ask Hunter questions. Then when we open the floor, we'll probably let everybody come up one at a time. I know we're gonna have a lot of commentary, but we may prevent it from being just a back and forth with Hunter the whole night and have everyone come and speak your case, and then we'll get Hunter back up at the end and kind of go over a recap of things is probably the best way to do that. So Councilman Burrell, if you want to start.
I got a couple of questions, a couple of comments, and I'll try not to fumble through this too much. So Hunter, I appreciate that, and I think that it's been a concern for the council. I think it's been a concern of maybe not everyone in the city, but a lot of people in the city that, we maintain our business districts as, at least some semblance of business districts and not being residential areas. And, there's got to be a balance between residential and commercial, and we acknowledge the fact that a lot of people want to live downtown, but to what extent do we destroy a central business district by allowing single-family residential? And that's what we struggle with, and unfortunately, I think that B3A and B3B was caught up in this. So Hunter, you described what the intent was. So when you describe that, and it makes sense to me, why can't the language just state what you wanted the intent to be as opposed to what it is now? And so if we've got 99 total residences affected in B3A and B3B and 49 single-family homes, it seems to be a pretty simple matter. Now, let me say this too. Folks, we have some pressures going on right now that, it takes a couple of months to get some of these ordinances through. And if you were to say we want to substantially alter this ordinance, it would take us 2 to 3 months to rewrite it and bring that back before the council for a final adoption, and then there's advertising requirements. So it takes a while to get that put back into place. But I would suggest this, and I want to throw this out to council. I would suggest, and this would solve a lot, it's 49 single-family homes. Can we not say that those existing homes, and maybe it's the 99 and not the 49, either way, it's not a big percentage, as you've pointed out. It's a minuscule population of the city, that they are not affected by this at all. Now, and if we needed some regulations on that, you mentioned parking. Could we put a regulation on parking such as X number per bed, X number per bedroom, and it comes out to be 6 or 8, so you don't have a house that sleeps 20 and you allow 20. Now, some people may say that devalues my property, but if it's your single-family residence, I mean, is there any kind of give and take there? So I would like for it to say that notwithstanding those existing homes in B3A and B3B, that would solve, a lot of problems. It would alleviate a lot of concerns. Now, having said that, we may want to just promise to amend the ordinance on the heels of this amendment and start that process immediately. So I think that there could be just that. That's the only part of the ordinance that I would say we should change immediately. Even if we decide to adopt that at the next meeting, we could start saying that immediately and start that ball rolling. But there still is that concern about parking. If you did have 99 homes that allowed 15 cars to park on the street, you're going to have a lot of complaints. So I don't know. That's the only little sticky part that I see. And some people may say, don't regulate that. I mean, I can see that the people that own these homes now would say, don't regulate that. I might want to have 15 beds in my house, but that's what I'm allowed now. I mean, but we need some short-term rentals. And let me give you another example for the audience. If you have an Airbnb downtown, and, hey, I own short-term rentals. I mean, not in Fairhope, but I mean, I've made money with that, and so I don't have a problem with it. But when we have limited parking and you only require parking based on the unit numbers, well, there's a big difference between a one-bedroom unit and a five-bedroom unit, and being able to sleep two and be able to sleep 20. And that's where we run into some issues, and that's what we're struggling with to manage, if you will. So it's difficult to get that right and try to be balanced and fair to everyone. So that's my recommendation, is to, if we were to pass as is, knowing that that's going to go into effect January 1, 2027, would be to, even if it's allowed at whenever we can, if it has to go through planning and zoning, get that going, to say that the existing homes are not affected by this ordinance, period.
Hunter,
Do what?
any comment on that, Hunter? And Marcus, does that change materially the ordinance is being presented?
I think what Jack's talking about doing is adopting this and then amending.
Well, he was talking about two different, he was talking about that as an
No, because
option, but
if you were to amend this, you're looking at a whole new cycle, right? You're looking at a 3-month cycle.
And you're talking about adopting this and then immediately going to an amendment phase.
Yeah, I'm
For
basically
the
saying
B3A,
that,
B3B.
I'm basically trying to put some meat behind the fact that we said we're going to adopt it and then we're going to change it. And I'm saying, let's start that ball immediately so that the people have faith in that we're going to do what we said we're going to do.
And can we introduce it tonight?
I don't know,
If
I don't
we
know
were
if we
to
could
pass the
introduce it tonight according to our rules and regulations, because it may have to go through planning and
Publish
zoning
it
for a
and everything.
recommendation.
Yes, there's a process there, and frankly, that, we can start that process immediately. By the next meeting, I'll have you a timeline on what that would be, because there's advertising things that are a little archaic and getting through some of those. I don't want to tell a date, but it could be 4 months, Councilman. I'll get that to you before it's back and ready for
And I would
adoption.
say walking on the freaking planning commission meeting if you have to. I get so tired of people walking stuff on our meeting, but boy, you can't walk anything on planning commission. God, end of the world.
There, and that's where those advertising guidelines, I'll have to make
Sometimes.
sure we're hitting.
Right.
But that can be done. I will say part of the challenge is and this is, part of these amendments have the building blocks. Some of the building blocks we can use, because I think you hit it on, nail on the head. When we talk about density, it's a lot of times it's houses per acre, units per acre. When you talk about lodging, it's kind of about sleeping capacity, and you have to have a different mechanisms to measure those things. And people get really creative, and you look at some of the regulations in other areas and what they require to review plans, and look at a storage room or a closet or a washroom, and now there's 2 bunk beds in it. That's kind of the evolution that we're trying to get to.
I look forward to hearing from some of the citizens on that, because I haven't, this is not rehearsed, and I've not spoken to a single one of them about that thought, so I'm just kind of curious as to what their thoughts are.
So I think we can begin immediately getting that in the pipeline to address the single-family and B3A, B3B.
The reason that's important is if somebody was to put their home on the market and they're saying, yeah, we tell you, you have till January 1, 2027, yeah, the government promised me that.
I get it, and this is always the challenge when you're up here talking, since August, and said, if there's anything that this would affect people, please let us know. And I know there's thoughts that we should be sending letters out for zoning amendments.
Well, I want you to address that. I want you to address that, honey.
So
you're all right. Yep, everybody's correct. I want you to address that.
And that is what is required of the zoning when there's a certain property affected, like a zoning change, a board of adjustment, a subdivision. That's when letters are sent out. When you have a zoning amendment and that it might affect multiple, because B3A and B3B are not the only properties affected by these amendments. It's broad reaching. There is no letters that go out. Who do you send them to? All 11,000 people. But we go way above and beyond the advertising requirements. We have been in public meetings. We have discussed this. It's out there on YouTube. There has been no hiding of this. I get that sometimes that's hard to, for people to understand. But there were a little bit of archaic requirements in the state law about advertising in a newspaper. That's not a functional way to address things, but I can run through the list of things we do to get that word out. And anybody that wants to, if you want to just get on our email list, we have something we send out to over 600 people every month for every case we send out. We go do that. We have our packets on the website for Planning Commission. We usually put it together about 200 pages a month to get that transparency out there and reports that are not required. So, yeah, that's always a tough one for me. It has been everywhere I've been that people, it's kind of impossible to go door to door for 11,000 houses.
We are where
in
we
30
are
days.
now, and it is what it is. And obviously, we have some very concerned citizens, and we do not want that. We don't want them living in fear. And I had one of my friends walk up to me, and she looks like she's petrified, and talking to me about what's going on. And I'm with Jack. I think they need to feel safe and feel secure in their homes.
Council President, I do have one other
Yes, sir.
question. Probably a little bit easier, Hunter.
Thank you.
The 3,630 square foot per dwelling unit, I think you said 12 units per acre, but that would not necessarily include a mixed use. So if you had a 1 acre lot, what is the maximum? Let's say you were to put a hotel on that. Would that be judged differently? Like how many rooms could you put on that? Is it only 12?
No, that requirement is only for a mixed-use building. That was part two when we started this. We need to deal with lodging a different way.
Okay, so that's not addressed
That's not
in
addressed.
this, okay. I thought that was a little slim maybe on
Yeah,
some of that.
that was not addressed because that you're looking at a little bit more of a sleeping capacity, whether that's, some people do it bedrooms, some
Parking
do it.
notwithstanding, but.
And whatever those limits are. And part of what we're doing also is to have some predictability. One of the biggest challenges I get from people that want to develop and want to build things is it's not an easy answer. When they're looking at property to purchase, there's a pretty tough process to get through. Sometimes multiple variances and zoning changes and site plan reviews before you know if you can do something or not. So having a little bit more predictability was one of the goals, not just being burdensome, zoning amendments out there. But that was part of the kind of lodging of coming back with that. So did that answer?
It did, yes, sir. Thank you.
Councilman
I have no
Gammon,
questions.
any questions from you?
Did you want to go first, Councilman?
I've already had my say.
Okay, yeah. Hunter, thank you. Good presentation, good. I still have plenty of questions. So confirming, this doesn't change any current single-family homes prior to that January 1st, 2027 regulation. Is that correct? There's no use changes that happen if we were to pass this ordinance? Current single-family homes, or there is?
Yes, there is. What
Prior to
the
2027.
Yes, what the deferment for that January 1st, it says nothing for any existing homes would be affected by those regulations in any of the commercial districts, not just B3A, B3B. There would be some requirements, again, there's a lot of sections out here. And when we're talking just about single-family residential use or two-family within those B3A, B3B, it makes that where they're not affected where those homes are there if they wanted to do addition. Now, the way it's currently written, if they were to tear that down, a house down, and build a new home there, it would not be allowed to be a single-family residential use after January 1st, 2027.
There goes the problem.
Agreed. Again, even, I know sometimes, first time hearing me speak, that was not the intent, and I agree with everyone's thought. We do not want to exclude single-family homes out of B3A, B3B. So what we can do to get that in immediate, we would certainly be as accommodating as possible in a new amendment if that's what we choose to do.
And Hunter,
Yeah,
sorry, you see more?
Yes, sir. Keep going.
For the maximum impervious surface requirement, what was the intent behind that? Is that just to prevent a concrete lot from being built, or what is the?
Essentially, you've got a lot of, we've got a lot of older lots, and for years and years, you might have a 1,100 square foot home on that lot, and there's not the public infrastructure. The right-of-ways are not big enough to put some of the infrastructure in you see on modern roads. So some limits on the impervious surface, that doesn't mean you can't. Most of the things you would do, you have an impervious alternative, pave instead of concrete, using pavers and other resilient surfaces. But that's been kind of an overreaching goal for a while, even before me, to have some kind of cap on the impervious surface so something does not just turn into a drainage problems that are exacerbated.
A couple more questions. So can you explain a little bit more detail again? Why did we not include, or I think what we keep describing as step 2 in this current ordinance proposal?
So one aspect of it is being able to police some of those issues. Short-term rentals, for example. The NIAX codes and codes to be able to categorize those. There was one aspect of why we were wanting to match those up, and I appreciate Jennifer Olmstead's help and getting some of those codes in. I hope that helps her in the long run, and as well as our businesses. Another is just a capacity, and there's building blocks of, it's sometimes hard. Right now, the building height, to give you an example. The building height amendments we are trying to work on, they build on these amendments that are proposed right now. They will refer to the terms, and right now, it's kind of a moving target. Are we adopting this or that? So some of the lodging uses and how we would address those concerns are built on the building blocks we're proposing in this amendment. Part of it's also if we add 330 more pages of changes, we're bringing that much more discussion to the table and a capacity to get some things done. When our target, I believe, was 9 months, because there was a suspension of certain applications tied to addressing some of these concerns. So trying to get the manageable scope of that had a component to it.
I got a lot of comments concerning renovations of current properties and how that may or may not change. Could you clarify for me what the process would include right now for somebody who wants to make a major renovation, not a minor renovation, not renovating a kitchen, but wanting to add, 30% or something?
There's not a blanket answer for that. We've looked at spoken to a few people and been able to look at their specific properties. And frankly, there's some non-conforming structures out there that you couldn't do anything on. There's non-conforming structures. We also have non-conforming lots and non-conforming uses. So the issue we're creating by this is adding a non-conforming use. But there are still non-conforming structures that can't be expanded on without variances or potentially other problems. Renovate, one of the big comments I got, what if there's a Sally? What if there's a damage of our home? We have a stipulation currently in our zoning ordinance. If that happens, an act of God or something that was not done deliberately, you can build back in the same footprint, you can build back the same home to repair that. That doesn't matter about any changes we're doing now or may propose. We're not proposing to change that one. There's some codes that really is more on the building side, that level 3 renovations and things like that deals with building codes, not zoning. So the threshold, any non-conforming portion of a building can be maintained indefinitely. Any new things have to be in compliance with current zoning ordinances. It's not an easy answer for me.
That's under the current ordinance, right? I mean, if we did nothing, that still applies right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So anybody that's non-conforming now will remain non-conforming.
That's correct.
Even with or without this ordinance.
For those non-conforming structures and lots, absolutely.
Okay.
The one thing that we're obviously sensitive to is the folks behind me that have a single-family home, especially in B3A, B3B. We did acknowledge and put that, like, hey, this won't affect anyone until January 1st, and with the intent to fix that by January 1st. I got some common sense to know that that's going to, maybe not be a perfect solution for people, so I'm willing to work through that and we'll get that resolved in a quicker path.
And my final question is, what do you, as a planning individual, what would your concern be if we did not pass this in terms of what could come down the road that we'd be unable to prevent, or what's the downside?
There are rational fears and maybe logical fears, illogical fears. Trying to stay out of the tinfoil hat and keep that in the closet. Keeping the character of Fairhope. I mean, that's our goal here, and really, I think we're probably on the same page with most people that have property. A lot of times, and I think you all see pressure even coming from outside Fairhope, people that are not here. We got people buying property sight unseen in Fairhope as investment opportunities. They don't care about the character of Fairhope. They're going to maximize that investment and never show up to property. So literally by taking that out, and while we proposed to take that out until we had that solution, was not to affect anything that's there or the people that are here to do that. We didn't want to take that right. Just have those kind of regulations to make sure new things are not abusing and really kind of a loophole. I don't really want to say what all those loopholes are in public, because I don't want people to take advantage of those. But there are some out there that we're aware of. I hope that's enough detail.
I think so, but I think maybe let's just go one step further. Currently, are there any limits to units per acre in these zones as proposed?
In B3A, B3B, yes.
In the CBD, I should say, in the CBD, are there any current maximum occupancy per unit?
That's a loaded, in B3A, B3B, yes, 7,500 square feet. Not particularly a unit density. It depends on what somebody's doing. If they're subdividing, yes. If they're, there's no lot minimums for B2. It depends on what the zoning. Not every property in the CBD is zoned the same, right. So some have different requirements. But for mixed-use building, is there a cap on the number of dwelling units? No. If that's
what I'm asking,
the question.
yeah.
Or caps on hotels,
right.
units, things like that. It's no.
No
There's a parking requirement for residential units and hotels, not boarding houses.
Thank you, sorry.
Yep.
Councilwoman Booth, any questions for
I
her?
just want to reiterate to the citizens that as a property owner in downtown Fairhope, if somebody told me that I couldn't do any kind of renovations or, have my child inherit my home and want to tear it down because it's an old home and they want to build on that land, that I can totally understand what you're in here, for what reason that you're here tonight.
And Hunter, I'll just say, easy for me, I guess, to see both sides of this. First, thank you for all the hard work you put into reworking the zoning ordinance. You're never going to have a perfect solution. I know from your perspective, hey, we're impacting 11,000 lots are being impacted in total, but really only 49 that are directly impacted by this issue. Now, as you addressed earlier, to those 49, well, this is a huge issue, and this is a big concern. I would prefer to have this right on the front end, but as you have mentioned, the kind of archaic laws with advertising, it might be most feasible to do what Councilman Burrell has said and look at passing this as is, and then immediately on the heels have an amendment, because if I'm speaking to the public that's here, your concern, having the government pass a new ordinance and saying, trust us, we'll fix it later. I 100% understand why y'all are here, why you're concerned, and why that would give you pause and heartburn and all sorts of things, because that's not really it's not really a great plan, but additionally, not everything, I guess, contemplated on the front end, but we do have a pause in certain applications that is set to expire, that has been extended once. And, I think that was enacted to address, so that we could address the zoning ordinance in part during that time. And one of those things is that, hey, we're pausing these so that we can address the zoning ordinance, so we can make modifications and changes, and I guess there's some benefit to trying to bring that to fruition or completion. But, I think I'd like to hear from some of the citizens. I feel like I know what a lot of y'all's concerns are. I understand the residents to just trusting the government, saying, hey, we'll fix this, we promise. But, hopefully, if we get to that point where the best solution is to pass this as presented and immediately amend it, I would hope that, maybe not as a government entity, but as individuals, that many of y'all know that you'd be able to trust that we are going to do what we say we're going to do, and take care of that for you. Hunter, if there's anything else you'd like to say now, go ahead and tell us. Otherwise, I'm going to open the floor and let the citizens.
Just one thing in that
Yes, sir.
timing that we might have take some advantage of. Like I said, there are some amendments being worked on for building height that would be in front of the Planning Commission March 2nd. We've already kind of acknowledged that we may not be able to recommend full approval of those because they are dependent on these, and you wouldn't even adopt those until the week after if you chose to adopt these amendments.
Gotcha.
So we've already kind of acknowledged that would likely
Carry over
to the
another week.
next meeting.
Yeah,
We
another
can
month.
we can expedite if we can get to what those changes would be and maybe put it right in that.
All of
set
them in
amendment.
the same kind of consideration.
That would expedite it
In
by
April.
maybe a month, yeah.
Thank you. At this time, if you'll just hang tight up front, and we'll go ahead and open the floor. If you'll come forward and just give the city clerk your name and address, and we want to hear what everyone has to say. We're probably not going to do a lot of back and forth with Hunter until everybody's had a chance to come up and speak. So the floor is open. You got 3 minutes, and just one at a time, and come forward. Good evening.
Where's the city clerk?
Right here, Lisa Hanks.
My name is Shannon Smith. I live at 56 Fairhope. Okay, I've got 3 minutes, so I'm going to read and go quick. But
Yes,
I feel
ma'am.
a lot better after hearing from all of y'all, so this might be redundant. My name is Shannon Smith, and my home is at 56 Fairhope Avenue. I'm next door to Jim and Pam Presswood in the smaller Spanish home that was built in 1928. I've done significant historic renovations on my home. Matter of fact, my new roof is being tiled on Monday. And I've been a resident of Baldwin County for the past 28 years and in Fairhope for the past 7. I moved here to be closer to my parents who have now since passed away. And I also live in Birmingham. So I'm very familiar with small towns. I happen to live in Mountain Brook, and we have 3 villages, and they're all kind of like this, but not quite as beautiful because we don't have the water. So, but I consider both of these true to my heart and my home. But anyway, I'm here to express my strong opposition to the proposed changes regarding residential rights in zones B3A and B3B. And I would guess that not any of you on the council or planning commission live in these zones and must not be aware, but it sounds like you are now, of the unintended consequences if you pass this ordinance as it is today. The unintended consequences are clearly outlined in the response from Peyton Rogers to Jim Presswood that I referenced in my first email to all of you all. While you all may see these changes as administrative adjustments that need to be amended by 2027 to get the urgent needs in the Central Business District passed, for those of us who are homeowners, these changes represent complete uncertainty and a fundamental erosion of our residential rights and financial security. A home is the largest investment most of us will make. And by taking away the rights to add space or modernize, the council would be devaluing and limiting future marketability. Families grow, parents age, deaths occur. I'm a prime example of that. And life happens, and we all depend on our financial investments, and especially our homes and communities when these things happen. Hunter Simpson, the planning director, has said that it was never the intention of the city to remove single-family or two-family from these zones on a permanent basis. Therefore, I kindly request the council to consider the alternative solution the Presswoods have suggested by leaving our zones out of this ordinance. Rather than pass something that Hunter has said was never the intention, please do the honorable solution by getting it correct the first time, rather than taking our residential rights and financial security away. By taking it, by telling us that it won't take effect in 2027 will just be fundamentally wrong for homeowners. No one wants their rights taken away for 5 minutes, much less a long-term time of uncertainty. What are we supposed to do until then? I just found out about this 2 weeks ago, and I think most of everybody else here did too. Mainly, I don't know why, but we should have known. We are, I know the state has archaic, implementations or whatever, but we're not archaic. I mean, we just heard the guy, in your planning commission talk about all the AI things and all that. We need to notify citizens and homeowners. This is major for us. So anyway, thank you for your time and consideration. I really appreciate y'all. And I feel like you're going to do the right thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Chasen. My name's Alan Chasen. I'm a lawyer here representing Jim Edgman and his wife Roxanne. They live at 121 Fairhope Avenue, on the north side, Fairhope Avenue. Their property is zoned R3B. I don't intend that any of my comments should be taken personally by Hunter. I appreciate the work that Hunter does. I know he has a hard job, and I appreciate that. But what I'd like to do is point out to you some of the deficiencies I think that are in this proposed ordinance as it affects that neighborhood there. That's all my comments are addressed to, is that neighborhood there in the 100 block of Fairhope Avenue. My first question, as I read through the material that Hunter prepared and is in your packet, is what is the purpose of that amendment? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And how does this ordinance solve it? And if you look at Hunter's material, I think it's clear that his primary purpose with at least part of this ordinance is to solve this short-term rental problem with neighbors complaining that there's parties all night in short-term rentals or 6 cars parked in the yard. I understand that's a real problem, but that is the problem he's trying to solve. Now, my second point is, how does this ordinance solve that problem? There is no regulation now to speak of short-term rentals. In fact, the zoning ordinance doesn't even address short-term rentals. There is a separate ordinance, number 1336, that was adopted in '07, I think, that limits the places that short-term rentals can be, but it doesn't tell you anything about how many cars the renter can park in the yard. And that's what he's getting at. That is an admirable problem to deal with. But this ordinance deals with changing the zoning. How does that change the problem with rentals? It doesn't. And so the third point I want to make is, does this ordinance adversely affect the property owners? There are 12 lots in this area there on the north side of Fairhope Avenue, 6 lots fronting on Fairhope, 6 lots on a little alleyway called Genevieve Lane. And those 12 lots are all affected. They're all zoned R3B, and they're all affected by this thing. But the change that they propose, which would delete the definition of single-family R1 and 2 from a R3B zoning ordinance, what does that have to do with the short-term rental problem? And so I don't know what he's trying to approve, what problem he's trying to solve with changing the zoning in that neighborhood. There is, as he says, he doesn't have any regulations now to speak of other than that location restriction. And he needs to, as he said, come back with another regulation or ordinance at sometimes that tries to solve this problem of short-term rentals. Well, as the chairman said, you know, I just don't think it's reasonable to ask the citizens to go ahead and pass something now that doesn't solve the problem and wait for maybe as much as a year or more to solve the problem. We need a regulation of short-term rentals. We don't need a zoning ordinance amendment. And most importantly, by doing something that doesn't move the ball forward at all, we're not doing something that affects these neighbors and their property. And I want to speak to that non-conforming use issue that somebody mentioned. That's in Article 7 of the ordinance. I got a copy of it here. All 12 of these properties that in the neighborhood I'm speaking about, their property would overnight become non-conforming. The proposed ordinance says that. Now, the delay for 1 year, I'm not sure what that's all about. Why would you do that? I assumed he was figuring that he'd give a 1 year delay on the effect of the ordinance so that he'd have time to come up with regulations dealing with the real problem, the short-term rentals. But, you know, things take a long time, and they may not get done by a year from now. But non-conforming uses, if you read the definition of it, there's only a handful of things that give you a waiver or an excuse from the effect of the non-conforming. I've had mortgage companies that won't make loans on non-conforming property. If you have a casualty, a windstorm, fire, or if you just go on a 6 months vacation and your property is vacant for 6 months, when you come home, you got to convert your home to a commercial, And I don't think that is, I think that the cost to these 12 homeowners is so great compared to no benefit at all to the city of dealing with a problem that doesn't exist. There's no problem with the zoning there now. These people have, the Edgemans have been in their house for 12 years. And it adversely affects them. So, and let me say this about the 49, I don't have any way to check that number, but if you look at the way Hunter calculated the 49 lots that are affected by this, he only counted R3, A and B. Did not count R1 and 2. I don't have any way of counting them, but I know the number's higher than 49 because I'm personally familiar of 2 houses at the intersection of Morphy and Summit that are zoned, it's either R1 or R2, and they're single-family houses being used there. So I know the number's at least 51, just from personal knowledge. So it's a bigger problem than 49. And it saddles these property owners with a problem. So what do we want? What would he ask you to do? What we'd ask you to do is to table at least that part of the ordinance, that the one he showed you, and until he comes back to you with a regulation to solve the real problem, short-term rentals. If he can do that in a month, then maybe you take up this rezoning change at that time. But by doing that, you see, you wouldn't have to ask the citizens to trust you.
Gotcha.
Not that you wouldn't be trustworthy, but y'all have all acknowledged that problem.
Yep.
But if you table the zoning ordinance part of it until he brings you a regulation on short-term rentals, there's really not a problem to solve.
Yep, there is.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes,
going
sir.
to address that.
Yes.
Mr. Chapin, you can go back to your seat. I believe that he did not frame that as a short-term rental ordinance. I believe I tried to, at the very outset, explain the need to preserve business property for business. And we're talking about business property, not likely and maybe not probable, but not impossible. Could you imagine a central business district where every single business was replaced with a home downtown? Not impossible. Like Rennie's Jewelry becomes a home.
Has it ever occurred?
It's happening now.
It has never occurred.
Well, sir, you can wait your turn. I have the floor right now. So that was what I believe is the concern. We talked about a proper balance of business and residential, not the fact that it was only geared to short-term rentals. And I thought we also explained that if you stop the process of the ordinance, you have to re-advertise it. And he also tried to explain that there are many, many other things that could come to fruition if you were to strip this out. You just can't simply strip this out. And we all tried to say, as much as we'd like to just pull this out, I'd like to amend it right now and make the changes that I said. Can't do it. And you know that. You can't do that right now. It's just not the way the law operates. So if we could, I think that you would have a council willing tonight to alter that and change it materially tonight and adopt it at the next meeting, but that's just not lawfully allowed.
Councilman, all right, floor is still open. Yes. How are you doing this evening?
Council. I'm Marjorie Searcy. I live at 12 Fells Avenue. We've been residents for 19 years in Fairhope, and we lived 5 years in our renovated home. We purchased the home on Fells for the purpose of having Airbnb in our home. So we have 2 suites. They are 1 bedroom and bathroom each, access from outside. And we love our neighborhood. We love living there, have every intention to live in the home. And so I am just agreeing and adding to what has been said, that we do not want this ordinance to pass. So it's saying that that residences are not allowed in that area. It seems to me I think I agree, obviously, with you. We preserved this 1904 house to keep it, as much as it was as we could, as historically. It seems like if if the ordinance is to not allow people to live there, even if you say it's for the next year or whatever, but eventually what we mean is that those areas will become businesses, right? Eventually people move, the house gets, that's what I'm assuming this ordinance is trying to make happen. I understand what preserving downtown, but if that's true, then we really could be opening ourselves up to changing the way that feels. Right now, it feels like a really beautiful neighborhood of historic homes, that we love, our neighbors love to live in. And so I can see that, changing if we're going with this ordinance, we take away residence ability. I also just want to bring up another, since I know that this ordinance is not primarily about short-term rental, although that's why I'm there, that's what I'm doing. It's what my husband and I, one of the major issues, so we are in compliance. We only have two spaces for cars. We only allow 2 people to be there. But I understand that, you're saying there's a possibility people could do other things. Surely that's true. There are many, many more homes that are doing short-term rental that are not in compliance. They do not have business licenses as we do. They are not paying their taxes. all over the city, and that is a much greater concern. We want to worry about the parking and things downtown in this one area that we're passing the zoning for, that we could like, pass some laws or whatever, make it clear that you can only have so many spaces used down there. The ones that are non-conforming, totally out of that category, and there are way more of them than there are the few that are Airbnb down in this little area that we're talking about, that we discussed. So I do want to bring that up as something y'all can think about. I'm sure that you know, but you can look online if you go to look and see. It's growing every day. Let's see, I think that's all that I really want to say, is that I would love it too if you could just take this out of the ordinance tonight and say, we allow for residency in these areas. So, and I also, while, it's a lot of trouble, if someone was coming to you and say, well, it might put us back 3 months if we took this out, but if you were told your home is not going to be, you're not allowed to be a residence, you wouldn't really care if it took 3 months for somebody to have to rewrite something and present it again.
Well, and in fairness, of course, it can still be your residence. It would just be a non-conforming.
Right, but you know the
use.
issues with that. If you can't rebuild,
And
maybe with being able to sell it, and I understand that you're saying you're gonna make, and that would be great if we quickly make that.
Yeah, and if it took
change.
3 months, I guess what we're having to weigh is what could happen during 3 months, if that zoning if it's left as is, what could potentially happen over 3 months versus the risk of, having 3 months where you'd be non-conforming. And I think that's what we're trying to weigh is what's the
Give a good
difference.
example of what could happen sometimes
Absolutely.
when you don't enact some legislation immediately, when you find out about loopholes and things like that. And no offense to the people building the boarding house, I'm a fan of that. I really wish it had been a hotel. I thought we had a solution there too, but I won't go down that rabbit hole. But when they found out they could build a boarding house with providing zero parking. Now, if we had waited 6 more months to enact some legislation to close that loophole, how many more people would have dropped applications to build boarding houses? We had to act on that immediately, or we would have a whole lot of boarding houses down there with no parking. So this is a similar situation. I'm not saying that people are beating the doors down, but, we don't want to advertise loopholes. And there could be things that could be dropped that the citizens wouldn't be happy with. So there's a reason you go forward with the promise of coming behind it and making that amendment. Is that fair enough to say? Was that a good example, Council?
I think that's well put, and I
So
think
that's why sometimes we really try to get some legislation for the good part of the legislation that's still left in there.
And I think it's worth saying that everybody here that I've heard speak, we all want Fairhope to be what it is. Nobody up here is looking to have Ace Hardware on Fairhope Avenue, right? That's not what we want. But as I was trying to tease out.
Why did you say that?
Well, I'm sorry.
It wasn't a
I meant
very
down at
good
the pier,
analogy.
wrong at Home Depot. There we go, sorry.
Okay, very good.
Ace Hardware.
Love that Ace Hardware. Can you tell it's my first year? We want things to be as good as possible. And I was trying to tease out of hunters that, right now, somebody could come in, it seems, in the Central Business District and propose, not a boarding house, but a bunch of studio apartments, right? And have, 15, 16, 20, 30 residents in there. That's not currently unallowed. And I hate saying that, we're the government, you want us to trust us. We're your neighbors, right? I'm not somebody in Congress that's far away. You're right near us. I can give you all my phone number, I give you my home address if you want, and beat down my door. I feel confident that if we were to move forward with this, that we're true to our word and we're going to do what we want to do. Nobody up here is saying that we want to eliminate you from being able to live in your home. That's absolutely not. There's nobody here that.
And I would say, for example, Marjorie, I definitely wouldn't want to see Fells Avenue, that section where you are, turn into commercial.
No.
That's the last thing we want. That's one of my favorite streets in Fairhope, and beautiful old homes. And I lived right around the corner from there for 15 years on South Bayview. So, I was right smack in the middle of the area that we're talking about. And so, seeing those areas being converted to commercial,
There's no way.
because this is eliminated, is definitely not what we're trying to accomplish. It's just caught up in sort of the temporary crossfire is what it sounds like. But we want to keep hearing from the citizens, so whoever's next,
Let's
floor
move
is still
on.
open.
Oh, that's good.
Hello, I'm Philip Goodwin. We have 491 and 493, which is a duplex on Pine Street. And then we also have 497 at the end of Pine, which is a house. We had the house, my wife's from Fairhope originally. The deal was that when we retired, we moved back down here. And so we bought the house. Then we bought the duplex, and we got it rezoned. So all of that area on the left side or the north side of Pine Street and Dean Mosier's Castle is all B4 originally, okay? So, and then we came back, they were using the duplex as a short-term rental, and we got it rezoned to be in compliance. And Cottages of Fairhope maintains it for us, so you should have the business license in Cottages, but I'll check on that to make sure. But, and I think Hunter's redone, we came to the August meeting, or came to the early meetings going, well, you can't just be ripping out residential in places that this is the only thing that you can have is right here is residential. Because when we came to talk to Hunter and figuring out what I was going to do when we renovated our house at 497 Pine, we came with the discussion is, what's the city's plan? What are you approving for us to do? They didn't want to include us in the CBD because they said, okay, you're not really a good place for a business there. That's not really a good spot for a business. It's a good spot for a home. You're in a border to residential. We want you to stay residential. So that was the discussions we had. Now with this, you just rip what we're doing or what in compliance with what the city wants us to do out from under and say, like you said, trust us, you're going to get to do it. Well, again, it gets back to the thing, why was it done like that in the first place? You know, or should we have not set up another designation during this process or prior to this process and dropped those kind of houses and places into a new designation? You know, I don't understand.
That would have been the ideal situation.
That's what we proposed at that time in August. It says, well, why don't you just recategorize everything? You know, and then drop us in what it should be. But don't tell us you need to be a business in a place that doesn't make sense for you to be a business, or suddenly pull up roots on what you're doing. And regarding, and a thought came to me when you were talking about the Airbnb parking, you do have to have a license, a business license to run a short-term rental or a rental, long-term rental. Well, it seems like the business license would be a place where you could control their ability to not have enough spaces or have that. So it wouldn't fall under zoning. It would actually fall up under the business license and saying, no, you cannot rent it like that, or we'll fine you heavily if you do it that way and don't have the card. So it seems like you have another alternative instead of putting it into a zoning, which is not where it belongs. So anyway, that's where our concern is, like everybody else's concern is, what the hell?
Common sense.
Can we speak as a couple? Or
Sure,
Sure.
that's fine.
husband and wife?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's fine.
You think she's going to let you get any word in edgewise?
Right.
Well, first of all, my name is Rebecca Bry, and this is my husband Galen Bry, and we have a little bit of a different perspective than what the other people have talked to you about. I know all of you care about this issue, and we appreciate that very much, that you are taking it serious and understand where we're coming from. Please understand that we appreciate that. We live on the corner of Cliff and Freedom Street, 24 Cliff Drive, on the corner of Cliff and Freedom, right by the gully that goes straight down to the bay. Our situation is that my husband's lived there for over 40 years, and I've lived there for 32 years. We don't have, we're not Airbnb. We're not trying to rent our home or have a bunch of people, coming and staying. We live there. We've lived there all our, a very, very long time. So when Hunter makes the statement that, he's, can't make everybody happy, or you try to make everybody happy, this is a deeper issue for us than just trying to make, some people aren't happy. This goes very deep. This is like, we lived there, and our whole thing was that we paid our mortgage and we kept our home up because it was going to be the legacy to our children, that they were going to have, they love it here. They were going to have the ability to come and live here, and if they wanted to change something, they could change it. And if they wanted to rebuild another cottage where our cottage is, that they could do that. And that has been our belief since we have lived here. And it would crush us to not be able to do that. We're not trying to make a business out of our home. That is our life. Our yard with our camellias in it, and our gardenias, and our little front porch, and our light on the porch that everybody sees, like everybody does in Fairhope. That's Fairhope. We were there long before these ordinances came to make our area. We are in
B3A.
B3A. Long before these ordinances were made to make it a business area. It seems absurd that this ordinance should go through. And the reason I say that is because we are not an afterthought. This happened because we were not thought of in the beginning. And I do understand the ramifications of people trying to get over on the ordinances right now, and I understand the importance of trying to get these things in place because of people doing this stuff. But I feel like that we were overlooked in the beginning, and it is not fair to make us pay for a mistake that was made from the beginning. Another thing is that, okay, say that you guys do pass this and you say we're going to immediately work on, another amendment so that we're not affected. What is the wording of that amendment going to be? Is it going to give us the exact same rights that we have right now? We don't have any idea what that amendment to the amendment even would look like. Would we be having to change? Would you change something? Not you personally, but I'm just saying, will we have the same rights that we have right now? This thing about, we've got a garage that we share with our neighbor. We have for 30 years. It's going through both of our properties. What happens when we become a non-conforming, entity? This is absurd. What we're asking you to please do is not to pass this ordinance. I know that it's going to take work to redo it. I realize that there are other things involved other than us, but I don't think anything's more important than the people like us that have lived here and contributed to this community and paid our mortgages. And these are our homes and our life and our legacies to our children. I don't think that you should pass this ordinance. But if you do pass this ordinance, I would like to see what the amendment to the ordinance would be that would replace our rights before you do this. Why can't someone tell us what will be our amendment to us that will make sure that we have the rights that we have today? So I would like for you to take that in consideration, and please don't make up your minds that you're going to pass this ordinance and then start on a change. Please consider starting over. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like,
Do you want to
You
start
did a good
over?
job.
I'd just like to add, I really liked, do we get 6 minutes since there's two of us?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
I liked Councilman Burrell's idea of just exempting B3A and B3B. Do we have a city attorney here?
Right there.
So does the advertising requirements say that you can't, say exempt 3A and 3B? That's 3 words. Would that?
Can't make
you can't make any change at all?
change.
Okay. Okay, well, that's really what I wanted to say. I really wish we could do that. And,
I
Thank
think if we
you.
could, we
If-
would
Thank you.
consider,
if we do pass it, could we, can you make, so we feel a little bit better about trusting you, can you make a resolution? Can you do?
I
can
thought
you
about
pass-
doing that tonight. I was actually going to ask for a little break maybe after all this and see if we couldn't craft a little resolution to have resolve to amend that,
Yeah.
what you're asking for.
And
Yep.
we-
I'll make that resolution tonight before we leave.
All right,
Thank you.
great.
and,
Thank you.
and
We wanna
one
give you
one
guys
thing
security.
on the shared garage, just to address, so I lived, I think, right diagonal across the gully from y'all on South Bayview for years, also had a shared garage. Technically, that makes your structure non-conforming already.
Yeah.
So if you had to tear down the garage, you couldn't build it back like it is.
Right.
And I just wanted to put that
Yeah,
out there.
I realize that, but I was trying to just give you an idea of how it is here, and y'all know how it is.
Yeah, and I lived in one of those, and I ultimately moved out of my house because I couldn't renovate my back porch to build a garage apartment. I wasn't able to do that because my lot and my property was non-conforming, and I would have never, ever left that spot if I had been able to renovate that and just have
Is there any
more
way that you
space.
guys could actually write an amendment that would make sure that we have all of our rights before you pass this?
Hunter, is that what you had proposed?
Well, and we won't be taking action on this tonight, so it's
But I mean-
possible we could have
I think
something
you can
in the
sleep well.
works.
We're going to make sure that you can sleep well tonight.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm Jim Edgman, 121 Fairhope Avenue. I'm a real estate broker and developer, been in the business 45 years. And I'm kind of like the couple before me. There's not any kind of mechanism that you can memorialize what Councilman Burrell said about single-family ownership and B3A and B, that we're not losing any of our rights, and we're not going to, somewhere down the road, be non-conforming. That's my residence. You know, that's where we live. We don't rent. We've renovated the house. I won't say that my whole net worth is tied up in that house, but I've
lot
got a
of money.
significant investment in Fairhope Avenue, and I kind of like to see it stay the way it is. And in the 14 or 15 years I've lived there, I probably had dozens of people email me, call me, come up to my front door, knock on the door, and ask me if I want to sell that house.
I'll give you $250 right now for it.
You want to buy it? So,
$250.
Anyway,
I'll give you
I have not, out
$275.
of all those people who have contacted me, reached out to me, not one person has ever wanted to use that residence commercially. It's single, they want it for single-family use, and that is the highest and best use. And I think if you talk to an appraiser or whatever, he would tell you that's the highest and best use. And if you start bringing commercial into Fairhope Avenue, the prettiest entrance into the city, there's an oak tree across the street from me that takes up, it's on 3 lots. So I don't know how you can, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the idea, Mr. Edgman, is to bring commercial into residential. I think it's to prevent too much residential from getting into commercial.
It's been there 100 and some years.
It's a proper balance is what we're all trying to say.
And I was a little confused. Is your property zone B3A or B? Because I was
Is it A or
thinking
B?
Alan referenced something
It's
different.
one or the other. It's on
Okay, it's one of those.
on the north side of the road.
But by keeping it that, though, you have more uses, which adds value to your home, so you don't want to change.
Well, I think
that.
if you eliminated single-family or two-family structures on that property and made it non-conforming, it might cut the property value in half.
I think you're agreeing with me. We're saying don't change it. I think you have a pretty good many allowed uses in that B3B.
And it seems like there ought to be some kind of mechanism y'all could come up with to memorialize this, if we're all on the same page.
Well, they're working on it right now.
I think we'll see if we can't come up with something maybe.
You gotta be short of a zoning ordinance. You can't be passing a zoning ordinance tonight, though, because
Correct.
you're right. Yeah, we can just
Well,
have a resolve to try to
Us
work
hearing
on it.
this,
And
that has
also,
single-family homes created a big problem.
yeah.
The
So,
way it was
the
written.
other, the other thing we need to say is that, you know, non-conforming exists all throughout the city, in all sorts of zonings, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you go down North Mobile Street, practically every single-family residence there is non-conforming because they don't conform to the setbacks, because that was all adopted after those homes were built. So we've got non-conformance all over. That doesn't mean, it's not that detrimental, just because you're non-conforming.
It's pretty detrimental because of the setbacks where
You-
my
you
house
might
is
be
versus.
You might be non-conforming before we do anything with this. Hunter, are any of those houses in B3A and B3B right now, would it be fair to say many of them are already non-conforming, whether you adopt this ordinance or not?
Absolutely.
Probably most of them
Probably
are
half of them
non-conforming.
anyways.
And what you know, one of the things you gotta understand, a lot of those were built before we had a zoning ordinance.
Right.
So anytime one of the things you always try to do is any proposed amendment, you try to limit those non-conforming. You really do, but it's sometimes unavoidable.
Those are typically due to setbacks.
Yes.
It's just, you know what, you're supposed to have 20 feet on each side, and you're 2 foot over the line because you've been there forever, you're non-conforming. It's not a bad thing necessarily.
It's not a good thing.
Well, it's nothing you can do about it. If you rezone it and you're non-conforming when it's rezoned, then you're always non-conforming.
The other thing, when y'all were debating back and forth about the Airbnbs and the parking and the number of bedrooms and all that.
Yes, sir.
That fight has already happened. My development is on Fort Morgan Road, and zoning District 25 in the county has already been through all that, because they were building these townhouses with 10 bedrooms and having 40 people staying on one lot, and they've already debated all that, so plagiarism is the highest form of flattery, so that amendment's already been written.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I think that does touch on exactly what we might be concerned about trying to capture. Yes, sir.
My name is Keys Mitchell. Property in question is at 107 South Section Street. Y'all are probably familiar with it. It's probably the most decrepit building in that area. We realize that it's pretty close to reach the end of its life. My concerns are with these new zoning and restrictions that it would cut back on what's able to be built there when this place is gone. And that's coming soon, within probably the next year or two. So this is pretty critical. What decisions y'all make now is seriously going to affect what we're able to do with that property in the short term. I'm not totally familiar with all of the new restrictions and what are requirements of what could be built there, but I would like to be able to talk to somebody so we could at least get some kind of an idea of what could be done without running into restrictions of this new ordinance. I guess that's about all I got.
We can definitely help you with that.
Ma'am. Good evening.
Hello.
Ken?
I just wanted to answer the question that was asked earlier about limitations on dwelling units in B2 in the CBD. So currently, it is limited by form. The height of 3 stories limits it. The requirement of 50% commercial on the ground floor. The requirement of 1 parking space per dwelling unit, and the floor area ratio of 2.25. So it would be redundant to put any kind of limit on the density. It's already done. You can't build outside of that shell. You have to have the commercial on the ground floor. You have to have the parking. I mean, it's already limited.
Hunter, can you speak to that at all?
Sorry, we're still trying to get that resolution. Can you summarize that question?
She can probably do a much better job of that, but I think
Yeah.
essentially it's
Yeah,
that.
I want to hear that too.
Pardon?
Yeah, could you repeat
If you
that
could
for our
repeat,
director,
yeah.
planning director, what you just said? I think,
The
she
form-
said she wanted to address what could be built on a, I believe you
Yeah.
said
B2.
B2.
Yeah, I was just answering the question that was asked earlier.
Right.
And you said there was no limit, but it is limited. There's a limitation on what you can build on B2 in the CBD because you're required to do 50% commercial on the ground floor. You're required to put one parking space per dwelling
But
unit.
you're referencing mixed use, and he was referring to a hotel, that no
Yeah, there
limit
was
on
a
units.
broader question, I think, earlier that Councilman Gammon was asking about.
Okay,
density.
well, this needs to be addressed too, because it's affecting the Mitchells who were just here, and some other property owners in the area. So this is something that I think seriously needs to be looked at. It's already self-limiting by building height, by parking requirements, by the floor area ratio maximum of 2.25, and by the commercial requirement on the ground floor. So by the time you put your commercial, you park one parking space per dwelling unit, and you only have an FAR of 2.25 and 3 stories. Why would you put another limit on it? It's already limited.
What's the limit currently? I think feasibly, you build it out, what can you build now versus what you would be able to build?
As much
What's
as
the
you can
size?
park besides the commercial you put. So like on a 10,000 square foot lot, right now, you might want to put, you've got 2 floors you could put residential on 10,000 square feet. If you wanted to do a normal sized unit, maybe an elevator building for some people that can't use stairs, you might put 4 per floor. If you could park 8, with this new zoning amendment, you can do 2 units. So that would be, 10,000 square feet each. And, there's plenty of room to park more than 2 cars. So it's already limited. I just don't understand. It would change the way things are done dramatically. And the gentleman who was just here speaking, I think he has 20 to 30,000 square feet in the old mattress factory. He's going to be selling that soon, and it's going to affect him majorly.
I know that wasn't my understanding, with the 10,000 square foot that she's talking about lot, wouldn't that be closer to 9 units that could be in there? As you said, 3 per 3,600?
acre,
Yeah,
Three
per
per quarter acre.
Yeah.
So
So
that
maybe
would be 2 dwelling units. So if you did a 2-story building, the whole lot could be commercial and then 2 units upstairs.
Are we trying to limit to 2 stories now?
I'm just giving an example. I
That's
can't
just-
get into
yeah.
design challenges
Yeah.
of
For
every
each
property and
individual
every
Right.
potential project.
What is it we're trying to solve by putting a limit, a max of 3 dwelling units per quarter acre? Why would you max a 10,000 square foot lot out at 2 dwelling units? It's not affecting the commercial downtown. It actually makes commercial more viable when you mix a little bit of residential into it. The parking's already required, so that shouldn't pose a problem. What would we do if people started tearing these buildings down and just putting a 1-story commercial building there? That would really change Fairhope. I don't think that's what we want to see, but that's what it would lead
That's the
to.
majority of downtown right now is a 1-story
A lot of
commercial.
one
I think
stories.
the part people like are the nice, old, charming 2-story buildings. And I don't know why anybody would build a 2nd floor. I don't understand what you're trying to solve with that. It's redundant. I mean, is there something you're trying to solve with that?
I'm sorry, which portion
By
of
limiting the dwelling units in B2 mixed use in downtown CBD, is there something you're trying to solve by limiting it to?
Yes.
Density.
For 23 units on a small lot. That's been kind of the history of I think the historic pattern, at least through the conversation, is people do like the buildings downtown. It is a hard thing to come up with, and we debated on what that metric was, but an upper cap that is predictable and results in what has been successful in downtown. I think the challenges were projects that did not contribute to the the character of downtown. Maybe it was just there to maximize the unit count.
So to get 23 units, so you,
I'm
You need 2 acres to have 23.
right.
Yes. And I think we had proposals and some were built on, much smaller areas and the downstairs was parking. That's a conversation going back even before my time.
You're talking single-family residences though, right?
That, yes, for the dwelling units
Or
itself.
dwelling units, okay. I think I think the goal was population density.
Okay, so there is an effort to try to reduce residential even on second and third floors in downtown.
The number, I'd say that was absolutely, there was no cap other than a parking requirement. And when a parking requirement is the ground floor, just to get those numbers, there was a predictable, yes,
Isn't there a requirement for commercial on the ground floor?
yes.
Is it 50%?
We're proposing 90%.
Okay, so then there's no room for parking. So you want no residential?
No, there's plenty of room for parking and good designs. If your building is going lot line to lot line all over, then it's hard to kind of get that in, and the downstairs becomes a parking garage. That's what we're trying to prevent.
You're going to end up with no residential on the second and third floors. You'll just be all business downtown.
I think there's a lot of buildings that meet these exact requirements that are very successful right now. I don't think that is an accurate statement, but if
It's
it
a
is,
general
Councilman-
statement, but I think it's more true than not.
Okay. I think there's certainly,
It's probably worth looking at some of the property that could be developed, because it sounds like y'all got some particular things in mind that you're trying to prevent from happening. But I think, and I'd be happy to help. I could sit down and calculate the square footage and the number of units you'd get on, the potential properties that are going to be demoed and developed. I'm happy to do it. So you could look at it more closely at least before you make a decision. I mean, I wouldn't be spending my time up here talking about it if I didn't think it was important. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ken Niemeyer, and I'm from Fairhope. This city and town has thrived by diversity, both in our downtown and in our residential areas. The idea of isolating people in certain areas, I don't think is good. I live at 7 Fells Avenue on the corner. We have a little mixture of everything from Airbnb and vacation rental and all that sort of stuff. And we have no parking problems. Downtown Fairhope is stronger by having diversity in parking, diversity of usage, and it works. The zoning ordinance that you're talking about now is putting things in little boxes, and I don't think that's a healthy way for our city.
Evening.
Hey, how you doing? Ryan Baker, 460 Dogwood. That's a home address. I've written you letters. Y'all know me. I'm part of the problem. Talking to Jimmy Presswood, he's a good friend of mine, and probably got a lot of these people stirred up. But I wanted to go through 3 things I wrote y'all about. The impervious area one is number 1. I think there's probably, if you went door to door to a lot of citizens in the town and you started looking at their lots, you'd probably have a whole lot of people out here talking about impervious area as well. When a realtor sells a home in the future downtown and somebody wants to add a pool or do an addition, and all of a sudden you start adding up all the impervious area. Oh, I can't add a pool here. I can't do my garage in the back. I can't do whatever without tearing up my driveway to make, do something like that. It's going to be something that's going to come up. Hunter talked about the whole idea of enforcement. I mean, weekend warrior, how are you going to stop that? You're gonna require building permits from the landscape contractors in town in order to do any sort of landscape work. That's really gonna be an enforcement problem. It's gonna be something that the city's gonna have to deal with. So that's my number one. My number two, I think the lady back there talked about the CBD, the mixed use. What she's trying to, what I heard her saying, what I think she was really trying to say is, there is parts of it that's already enforced. There is a 50% rule right now. It's not a 0% on the first floor. It wants to be increased to, he said 90. I thought it was being reduced from 90 on the latest one, but whatever it is. Some lots will be allowed 0 residential units, 0. Because there's a lot of very small lots downtown that are less than 3,600 square feet. There's some large lots, like this Compass Bank building. It's huge, I understand. So I understand the intent, the balancing act of it, but we really need, if mixed use was a goal of the city council for years, to get more people to move downtown, wanted to build mixed use, and this is gonna really limit that ability to do that. It's going to limit people's want to do it. And long-term, it's going to really encourage people to build 3-story, all business, commercial buildings, because there's 0 limitations on that. So you'll have more people on office buildings than you will in residential. My last thing is the stuff that everybody's been talking about here with the residential. I kind of don't understand why you cannot amend something at the city council level in any way whatsoever without starting from scratch. I don't understand why you can't amend. There's an extra part of the ordinance that you've added, talking about changing it to the future and those kinds of things. I don't understand why you can't amend anything else. It's kind of doesn't make sense to me that there's no ability for the city council to do anything up there except for vote it in its entirety or vote it down in its entirety at this point in time. But either way, it's not just B3A, B3B. There's also B4, like Dean Mosier's house. That's going to no longer be allowed to be Dean Mosier's house when it's done. There's other places, B1, B2 in the city that is also affects. So it is, that whole area, B3A, B3B, is a huge character to our city. I think that's why everybody here is really, very vibrantly, asking y'all to change this, but it'd really be easy just to strike out that one portion. If you all could vote on parts of it separately, I don't really know. But if there's a way to address it, and I understand you want to come back, and I really appreciate and laud you, Jack, for what you said and wanting to put a resolution today. And I know that Hunter's been working hard on this. I understand that. We've been asking about it for a long time. I've been talking about this being a problem for a long time. I identified this particular problem that's been here before it came back this time. So I really would, whatever y'all can do to resolve that. I know there's a lot of people. And my last thing about it is my part I don't understand is the way that the ordinance is written now. If y'all pass it as is right now, even with this section that says that goes into effect in January 2027, does that mean that if somebody wants to come and build or renovate or do any of those things during this period of time, are they allowed to do that? Is a new single-family home being allowed to be built in B3A or any of the business districts from now until 2027? Or is there nothing allowed to be done during that period of time? I understand that there's a right that you're allowed to keep that, but so it's a little unclear about what this amendment to the ordinance is, because I don't know if anybody can address that.
I think we'll try to address everything as much as we can at the end. So.
And Ryan, I have seen our attorneys tell us on things much, much smaller than this, much less impactful, that you have to re-advertise. Clerk has said that, attorneys have said that, planning director said that, on things far less reaching than this, like, no, you must re-advertise.
Well, I understand that, Jack, but you can table it, and I don't understand it's already advertised, it's here before everybody. If you make a modification and say, I'm approving with these conditions, is not even allowed to do. You can do that on everything else. Everything else in the city, you're all approve things with conditions on top of it. Site plans,
Resolutions,
Everything else that you change, you do that, but I don't understand why you can't do that.
But not likely at all, especially in this case. But if there was somebody out there that wanted it to be amended exactly as written, and we didn't have another public hearing, and they didn't get a chance because they saw what was on the agenda, and they're like, perfect, I'm not gonna show up. Yeah, that's great. And then that passed, then those people's rights were violated because they didn't get to be heard before it was, adopted, I believe. Is that correct, Marcus?
That's correct.
And there was a big,
Y'all not voting on this tonight anyway.
We're not voting on it tonight. anyway.
Right, so if you're not voting on it tonight, why can't you make the amendment and follow that procedure after that?
think you
And
can
you're not voting
meet the
out.
advertising requirements.
Again,
It's a state law.
I'm just asking the
Believe
questions
me.
for
Hey,
everybody.
look, I want to bypass the planning commission. We're the city council. I don't care what their recommendation is. We're going to do this whether they say this or that. But there's some procedures that you have to follow, and if you start breaking procedures, you start breaking down.
I appreciate it. I'm not,
Believe me, I'd love to do that.
Thank you very much, though.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Well, I
it.
know
Thank
one
you all for your time.
procedure we have changed tonight is the 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Well, you got to
Everybody
talk to the
officially
council
has
president.
10.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but
I'll be eating dinner at 11 o'clock tonight.
I want people to feel like they've had their chance to be heard.
I'm fine with it.
We started off on that foot, so,
I'm fine with it.
yeah.
I know everybody has a lot to say.
Apologies to your families.
So I'm
Yes,
Mac
sir.
Walcott, and I'm Ryan's partner, but I'm speaking as a property owner tonight. And I think the thing that, and I'm speaking as an architect also, but I think the bulk of tonight has been about this residential use. But I think we've talked to y'all about 8, 9 different issues in the ordinance that we had concerns with. And they each had a common thing. They took something away from the property owner, ability to use their property that currently exists without a clear rationale of why that was done. And that's what, as this lady was talking about, just connect the dots, say because it's the ability to build a mixed-use downtown is clearly prescribed right now. There's no mystery about what you can do downtown, and this diminishes that. So there's so many different ways that this ordinance, beyond the elimination of the residential, takes away a lot. So I know that there's a time constraint y'all created for yourself to do something after the moratorium. That's self-imposed. But this is problematic. If this is the first piece of the rewrite that's coming next year, why don't we be wise and slow down and get it right? What's the benefit of rushing through the stuff that's got so many things that we hadn't even talked about tonight? The impervious stuff is a great one. There's a maximum coverage requirement that you can do on a residence. To say that there's no limitation on impervious right now, that's not true. This adds to it, and that's really one of those unintended consequences. Our list, you just go down. Each of those has a real specific intent that's not being talked about. I mean, what is it with apartments in Fairhope? Why are we minimizing the density of that type of housing? It's okay if we don't like that, but let's talk about it. Let's state that. Let's connect the dots with our comprehensive plan. This ordinance disappears that just out of the blue, there's an arbitrary number of the reduction in the density for those types of developments. Fine, that needs to be explained. And before you diminish somebody's rights, tell them why you're doing it and what benefit they get in return. I mean, the attorney crowd might not like the word, or might like the word takings, but I think things are being taken from property owners if you pass this without a clear justification or quid pro quo discussion. Here's what you get in return for what we're proposing to do. So I would hope y'all would be wise and say, maybe we've gone a bridge too far with this. This is a lot to digest. We talked all night about one issue. There's 8 more in here that are just as consequential that we hadn't touched on. And so I would hope y'all would be wise enough to say, let's slow down and get it right, and not let whatever the momentum, institutional momentum that says we got to do something. Well, don't do it wrong. So thank y'all for hearing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'll be brief. My name is Lee Vernell. I'm also with Walcott Adams Vernell Architects. My two business partners I hate to follow. They're much more thoughtful and wonderful folks. But I just want to echo a couple of things. I'm much more of a behind-the-scenes guy, but I did want to say a couple of things. First of all, I greatly respect all of our officials that work in the zoning, the building department, Eric, Hunter, difficult job, and they hear a lot of type comments that we don't hear as architects and designers in our office. We look at it different ways. However, we work closely together. There is a huge cause and effect of these ordinances and zoning changes that sometimes I don't believe our officials have the time really to really understand the cause and effect. And we deal with it every day as a designer. We try to meet the regulations. The last thing I want to do is have a set of plans rejected by planning and zoning or Eric Cortinas. And they're always thoughtful, they listen, but they don't have time to understand the cause and effect of all of these percentages and numbers. And I just want to say a couple of things. Back to the short-term rental. I have some rental cabin, and Gilbert County, Georgia has an incredible short-term rental license that regulates all the things that we're concerned about. Parking, behavior. I mean, it is so strict, and it would take care of all of these concerns. I urge you to read it, Hunter. It just came out this year, and I had to meet it all. But anyway, that's a side thing. What Mac and Ryan mentioned about impervious area, huge. It is a big issue that needs studying. Brian did a great job in his letter and asking a lot of questions, I thought. But what I wanted to say, too, is it's weird. Just Planning Commission a year or so ago, Hunter recommended on a corner lot that the accessory structure setback be 35 feet as opposed to 20. Okay, I don't know if you remember that. I think it's been I don't think it's been acted on. I'm not sure. But that decision alone created at least 300 more square feet of paved area on a lot because you have to travel further into the lot to get to your two-car garage. So again, just an example, not that it wasn't well intended. I understand about the interior lot, view being blocked, but that's just an example of cause and effect. A couple other thoughts about height. Up on Seacliff Drive where we've worked on a lot of structures, the height definition, building height that mentions average elevation of the lot. 40-foot grade change, I know that's not typical of a lot of Fairhope, but it does exist. 40-foot grade change, average lot, the height, my client wouldn't have been able to build the house up on the top of the bluff the way that they envisioned it. It could have been built, but it would have been very limited in height. So again, cause and effect. These take a lot of study, so and I know he can't solve it all in one ordinance, but I'm just appealing to you, it really has serious cause and effect. And unless there's a huge problem that we're trying to solve, take your time, take some analysis. And I know y'all don't have time. You have to hear from folks like us. So I appreciate that. One other thing that is concerning me, and I don't know where it's coming from. I've been practicing here over 30 years, grew up in Mobile. Anyway, I'm over. I just want to say one last thing. I want to say, speaking for my business partners, I want to say 99% of the developers, property investors, clients that have come to our office, probably the one common thing they all say is they love the character of Fairhope and whatever they're hiring us to do. That is a primary concern of theirs, how to not adversely affect the character. So when Hunter made this comment earlier, with all due respect, it came off lightly, but when you say that outside investors don't care about the character of Fairhope, that's wrong. That's not true. And I feel like there's a belief in that. I know they're bad examples, anything, but in our line of work, it is of primary importance that what we try to do is to contribute to the character of Fairhope with our designs. So that's a direction that I don't understand where it's coming from, other than probably getting lots of earful when people can't do exactly what they want to do, which I empathize with. And, again, the comment just a couple of moments ago, and I wouldn't expect Connor to, otherwise I wouldn't have a job, can't get into the design challenges on every lot, which is the outcome of these these formulas and all. Well, we do. We deal with it every day. So it should be looked at seriously before it's brought into,
Okay.
voted on. Sorry. Thank you so
No,
much
no,
for your
I-
time.
You're
And
fine, you're fine.
please understand, they do the most difficult job, and I hope they'll still see me on occasion, even though a lot of times we don't agree on things. I tremendously respect their position, your position, and I love this city with all of my heart.
I feel your
So,
passion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Floor is still open. All
Anybody
right.
else?
Going once, going twice. All right, we'll close the floor to public. Council, do y'all want to have some back and forth with Hunter now that we've heard from the citizens? Do y'all want to take a break and come back? Where are y'all right now?
Rather, kind of end this discussion by, Hunter, if you have some follow-up, or if council has
Just some
follow-up,
of
I'd like to hear
yeah.
from council.
All right, let's go ahead.
Any follow-up to that? With brevity, if possible.
So I think we understand the single family and B3A, B3B. Anything we can do to do that. I will ask if we're going to look at a resolution. No action's taking place tonight, so if we can get until the next meeting to prepare that. And then if you want to vote on it and approve it, whichever option you choose, you would have that available to you instead of scrambling tonight to figure out what that wording is. We'll have the options in front of you, whatever you choose to do by that meeting. I don't understand some of the R1, R2 discussions. Just to be clear, there's no effects on those B3A, the commercial. It's a use within certain commercial districts that we were looking at changing. It's always a challenge. I hope we're trying to make it clear, because a lot of people, when they are developing or thinking about purchasing property, they can't figure out that answer. It's not a bad thing. And if we want to have those longer reviews and processes and give a little bit more flexibility, but make the cost and time frame longer, I'm okay keeping, that way. But other than that, unless there's questions, I'll be prepared and answer any questions we have.
Thank you, Hunter. Council, do y'all have any questions or any follow-up from the comments this evening? Buddy?
Council President, I don't have a question for him, but, at some point tonight, I'd like to amend the agenda to add a simple resolution. I think we can come up with a sentence or two to
I agree with
let
that.
our citizens feel better about it. It doesn't have to be very involved, and I don't want to paint ourselves in a corner, but I definitely think we need.
We owe it to them to make them feel comfortable before the next council meeting.
Correct.
For sure.
Okay.
I did want to just bring up, Ryan, appreciate the back and forth and emails. It is sometimes challenging, right, because we don't always get the feedback until the 11th hour. And I'm very new to this, so I'm only experiencing that firsthand. But Ryan did submit a lot of comments, and there actually were changes and updates based upon Ryan's comments. So I don't want it to seem like we took the information and just did nothing with it. We actually did. I mean, we presented, I personally asked Hunter questions that Ryan posed, and I'm one of 5, right? But there was some back and forth on that. So it is useful. We do respond to when people send us messages.
Councilwoman Booth, I should say.
I just want to know that, let everybody know that I definitely heard your voice tonight, and I appreciate you coming out and expressing your passion for your homes, and we do appreciate our residents and your opinions. We do take those into consideration. So thank you.
And I guess we'll
And our business owners.
reiterate, we're trying to protect the downtown, the commercial district. We're trying to address some issues and concerns about density, but I guess in part of this process, we've also got some properties that are residential that have gotten caught up in the mix. And I think some of the streets and the areas where these properties are, certainly not the intention for those to become commercial properties. It sounds like we've got vision that's pretty much aligned with y'all. We've just got this hang up of the ordinance as presented versus amending something. I mean, I hate to move forward with something that's not right on the front end, but I also don't know that we can have an ordinance that captures everything we're trying to accomplish at one time. So at the very least, we may take a little break, and if we need to put a resolution together to try to give some comfort, we're not taking any action on this ordinance tonight, and it would be another, based on the timing, it might be another 3 weeks before we gather again, so. Council.
Council President, just before we take a break, I think I would like to, if you may, I would like to make a motion to amend tonight's agenda to add a resolution addressing an ordinance, amending ordinance number 1253, known as the zoning ordinance. And then we'll come back, and if I can just get it, I'd just like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add that resolution.
Got a motion to add that resolution in a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of adding that agenda item? And we'll go ahead and add it directly as the first item we consider when we come back from a break. So,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Well, let's take a little break, see if we can't get a resolution written, just to address some of those concerns.
Just a couple sentences.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Waiting for me.
Okay.
There's
All right. We're going to get the meeting back in order. If everyone
Everybody
quiet
back
down
in
real
order.
quick. We're getting back in the meeting. We've got to get started. So, council, we now have before us item number 6, which is going to be a newly added resolution. Councilman Burrell, I know you were working on crafting that resolution. Would you mind reading the resolution as proposed?
Yeah, I'll read the resolution, and then if you don't mind, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution. So the resolution states the governing body of the city of Fairhope resolves to start the process of amending proposed ordinance number 1253, if adopted, to protect residential use rights of property that may be affected by current planning and zoning amendment proposals, including zonings B3A and B3B. And I would like to make that into a motion to adopt this resolution.
Let's, I make the motion.
What about B34? I mean, that's Dean Mosier's house.
It says including, it didn't exclude any, it just said including. Yeah, it's still a little generic, but we wanted, I agree with you 100% on that, yes, sir.
Residential use.
It doesn't exclude any.
Yeah, residential use
from any
in
consideration.
anything that could be adopted, yeah.
All right, so we've got a motion.
And Andrea seconded it.
And
Yep.
Andrew seconded it. Any further discussion?
I hope this,
I'll just say, I mean, I think it's maybe a sign of at least goodwill, but we're also not taking any action tonight, so it's sort of a preemptive for next meeting, I guess, but at least it's a sign that, hey, if we do take action at the next meeting, we're gonna be working quickly to
it's already in
start
place
on
to
this.
begin. And it's also acknowledgement that we hear you.
Yes.
We understand, and we're doing what we can at this point to address that immediately.
Any further discussion or comments?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution passes. That was item number 6. Thank you, council, and thank you, Hunter, Marcus, all the citizens who came to speak. I appreciate you all being with us and being patient, and I know a lot of back and forth and a lot of good conversation tonight on that, so thank you. Next item up is a final adoption of an ordinance to amend ordinance number 1233, known as the City of Fairhope Business License Code, Chapter 8, Section 22, License Classifications. This was introduced at the City Council meeting on February 9th, 2026.
I'd move to adopt.
We've got a motion for final adoption
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion or comments on this?
Just for everybody here, you're there, it's just a bunch of scheduling and codes, a bunch of bookkeeping type ordinance.
But helps us in
All right.
future planning.
If no further discussion, will the city clerk please call the ordinance?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
Council President,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
All right, ordinance passes. Thank you, council. Next item is the final adoption of an ordinance to amend ordinance 1666, the bylaws of the Fairhope Public Schools Commission, specifically section 2-113 on meetings, section A. The location will be posted by the city clerk 7 days prior to the meeting date, and this was introduced at the February 9th city council meeting.
Move for.
Got a motion for final adoption
Yes. Yeah.
and a second. Motion and a second.
Jinx, jinx.
Both tried to do both. Arm wrestle.
Yeah.
All right, there's motion
Hurry.
and this is just an effort to make sure that we're posting the meeting location 7 days in advance because the location rotates. So clerk, if you'll call the question.
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
Council President,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
All right, ordinance passes. Next item is a final adoption of an ordinance to establish the Fairhope demolition review procedure for historically significant buildings introduced at the city council meeting, February 9th, 2026.
Move for final adoption.
Got a motion for final adoption?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, clerk, if you'll call the question.
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
Council President,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
All right, ordinance passes. Next item is an ordinance to annex the property of Heath Clayton Pittman and Mary Emma Pittman and the Fairhope Single Tax Corporation located at 9338 Gayfer Road Extension, Fairhope, Alabama. And this was introduced at the last city council meeting as well.
I'd like to introduce for final adoption.
All right, we've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, clerk, if you'll call the question.
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
Council President,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
All right, ordinance passes.
I'll introduce the next ordinance,
Thank you, council.
number 1660.
All right, so the next ordinance has been introduced, and that's an ordinance to amend ordinance 1660 of the city of Fairhope, Alabama revision, specifically street lights. We had some good conversation from Ben earlier tonight in that. Any further questions for Ben or any comments?
There was a lot of conversation, wasn't there?
Yeah, I would like the first bullet to add the words, it would be right after the word is, it should say deemed necessary and that would be added between is and approved. So it would say removal is deemed necessary and approved by the electric superintendent. So I guess this will lay over right, but I'd like to add that language.
All right, thank you, sir. Any further discussion on that? No. All right, that'll lay over. Next item is a resolution that the city of Fairhope authorizes and supports the submission of a fiscal year 2026 RAA grant, annual grant application to ALDOT for $449,959.50. This would be on a $350,000 grant, $100,000 match to conduct resurfacing, restoration, and rehabilitation of 1.25 miles of County Road 13 from Morphy Avenue north up to Mosley, and authorizes the mayor to sign the required grant application documents on behalf of the city.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the resolution. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution passes. Next resolution is that the city council of Fairhope approves the selection by Mayor Sherry Sullivan for professional architectural and engineering design services for the Nick Center bathroom remodel project to Goodwin Mills Kaywood LLC, and hereby authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to negotiate a not-to-exceed fee to be approved by council.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next item is a resolution to award a bid to GAF Companies LLC for the new youth baseball restrooms at Volanta Park with a bid proposal not to exceed $176,783.70.
So moved.
Got a motion
A second?
and a second, and this was presented by Richard. Any further discussion on this item? All right. Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Motion passes. Next item is a resolution to award a bid to Hagan Storm Fence of Mobile for a new 6-foot vinyl-coated fence for Barnwell Youth Football Fields with a bid proposal not to exceed $39,617.
Move to award the bid to Hagan Storm Fence.
All right, we've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution passes. Next item is a resolution that the city council hereby approves and authorizes the Fairhope Junior City Council project proposal for a pickleball tournament at the Mike Ford Tennis Center, and it should read on Saturday, April 25th, 2026, with proceeds raised and donated to the Fairhope Youth Rotary Club. Should
Move
be
to-
Rotary Youth Club.
I move to adopt the resolution with the amended date of April 25th.
Second.
Got a motion and a second with the amended date of April 25th. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution passes. Next item is a resolution that the city council approves the selection of Magnolia River to perform professional services for pipeline and hazardous materials safety administration grant preparation, and authorizes Mayor Sherry Sullivan to execute a contract with a not-to-exceed fee of $20,000.
Motion to approve.
We've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next item is a resolution that the city council hereby approves the amendment to administrative policy and procedure, quality-based selection for professional services, item 3 for projects under $100,000, as presented in the attachment, and the copy is on file in the office of the city clerk. And this is basically just eliminating one step and would allow the mayor to make a selection for professional services and negotiate a contract, and then bring that to council approval instead of bringing the company, then going back and negotiating a contract and then bringing it back to the council for $25,000 and less.
I motion to approve.
Got a motion
And second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just want to reiterate, this is for good efficiency. Inflation played a role in our updating our numbers. So this is not just a blank check to the mayor to spend whatever she wants. That's not what it's.
Council still retains the approval authority.
We still control the purse strings.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? All right, resolution passes. Next item is an application for a special events retail license by Thomas Bratton McGregor for Bottles Up Mobile, Inc., doing business as Bottles Up Mobile, Brides by the Bay, on March 8th, 2026, at the Fairhope Civic Center. And Chief said all was good.
Move to approve the application.
Got
A
a
second.
motion and a second? Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is public participation.
Where'd the public go?
Where is everybody?
Hunter, you want to put on your citizen hat?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Remember drawdown March 14th for the Fairhope High School Booster Club.
All right, everybody, March 14th, Fairhope High School Booster Club drawdown. Tickets are how much?
Tickets are $150, and that is for a couple, and that gives you a chance for, and we'll have the casino again this year there.
Here or next? At the Civic Center.
They're gonna
Okay.
have the casino.
There's one other
That's
thing.
a
March
fun-
14th.
Yeah.
If you
that's
can
a
make
fun
it, it's a
event.
good event.
We also have Arbor Day on Saturday.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, put my tree committee hat on.
Oh, that's this Saturday?
That's this Saturday
Oh, boy.
at 10 a.m.
Now you
All right.
tell me.
Yeah.
Glad you brought that up. Okay.
Thank you, Paige.
We're having
Well,
council participation right now.
Yeah, seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and close the floor for public participation. Would anyone like to make a motion to
Make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
I would like to tell Mayor Sherry to get better soon, get well soon.
All right, is
I'll
anyone going to
second.
second that? Second, all right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.